Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of what Naruto was the Kitsune of Whirlpool. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Kurenai and Anko both stood at the entrance to Area 44, the Forest of Death. In the crowd were more than the average amount of people, even cut by a third they might still have to go through a preliminary round to take them down enough for the third exam. Kurenai and Anko smiled to each other before Anko stepped up. Alright you brats, listen up. In this exam, you're to fight your way through the Forest of Death and find your way to the middle tower. But don't take this test lightly, because you're not only going to race to the tower, you're also battling for scrolls. Naruto grinned a little happily. That all? I thought we'd do something else, but I guess tradition takes priority over difficulty. Anko grinned and disappeared. Naruto turned his eyes to the side, seeing Hinata react by turning her head, and in a second a kunai scratched past, cutting Naruto's cheek once more, and Anko in her favorite cleaving of the head position. Grinning ear to ear. Didn't think you'd allow me to get you again so soon, Naruto-kun. She licked up a little bit of blood before seeing Naruto's grin and looked rather puzzled. She wasn't puzzled for long, as she felt two kunai, once pressed against her back, right where a major artery was, and she could feel it going horizontal, in a way that could also paralyze her if she managed to survive the blood loss. The other was pointed to go right into her butt if she moved an inch. Hinata looked rather pleased and smiled sheepishly, while Kiba grinned and barely contained his laughter. Anko looked to the one in front and it poofed into smoke. You didn't, Anko-chan. Rather, you are way too slow to know my skill. Anko felt the kunai pull away and she put both of hers away before walking back, sulking a bit, but Kurenai comforted her a bit with a kiss to the cheek. Kurenai stepped up. Tradition is important, but there's a new twist. You no longer need both scrolls. You need only the Heaven Scroll. A few of the teams groaned out, but most were in joy. They thought they didn't need to fight, but Kurenai grinned and showed both scrolls. Don't think if you have the Heaven Scroll you can just go to the tower and win, though. It won't work if you just get to the tower with the scroll and open it. Then they all groaned in disappointed. Those with the Earth Scroll should set theirs on fire, and if they turn blue, that means a Heaven Scroll is nearby, and if the Earth Scroll is set on fire, a Heaven Scroll will glow if you're nearby. What you need to do, if to use the Earth Scroll's fire, which is harmless to everyone, and set it on fire. After you do this, then you can go and set up higher in the tower, and summon someone to congratulate you on a job well done, thus completing the test. Anko even grinned at her friend's devious plan. After the teams went through, they got their scrolls, and got to their gates. Unknown to Naruto, Sasuke was on the other side, with a man with a cloak and a peaceful expression, and a girl with glasses and tight short shorts. The bell sounded and they all ran into the forest, and when they did, Naruto and his two teammates ran towards the river and got supplies before heading into the deepest part of the forest and hide into a hole. Naruto took out their scroll and smiled. Heaven Scroll means we get an early warning system. Kiba smiled. Yeah, just in case we're too tired to get through. So what's the plan, Naruto? Akamaru barked in Kiba's lap. Hinata nodded in agreement before Naruto put the scroll away. We wait, sit here for a day or two. Kiba gawked, but Hinata looked only slightly surprised. After their talk she knew why. But still, she would rather help fight than just sit in the open when Naruto could get hurt. Kiba regained himself. You're crazy, why on earth would you just wait? Naruto smirked proudly. Because, if we wait I'll be at my strongest. Kiba scoffed. So you plan on doing this all on your own? That's not very cool of you, you know. This is a team, not just you. Hinata stuttered her objection, but Naruto looked seriously into Kiba's eyes. Look, I'd rather be at my strongest and help keep you two alive, or die and let you die if our enemies are too strong. Kiba smirked. So I guess you and Bakiju can't stop lying. I thought you were stronger than a cage. Naruto growled before grinning. I am, but Jiraiya knows more than you do. That got Kiba's attention. He and Kurenai spoke once about Jiraiya, how he was a master spy, able to get any information anywhere. This meant there was more to this exam than just being a chunin for them. Naruto sighed and looked seriously. Jiraiya told me that 3 teams were here, out to either kill or test me. One team is from Uzugakure, and yes, it is a real village, but there's also a team from Kiri here. We don't know for sure what they want, who they are, or how they're even connected to me in the first place other than Zabuza from the mist, and he and his apprentice died. The third, though, is from Oto, and it's Sasuke. Kiba and Hinata both looked rather shocked, but Naruto grinned. Sasuke won't show until we get to the tower. He wants to prove something to me and humiliate me in front of everyone, but... Naruto smiled softly, still filled with courage as his team softened. Kiri won't stop their chance at getting me. They'll be disguised as genin after all in order to get me, but they're really powerful, which is why I need to be at my maximum to deal with them, just in case. Kiba grunted and looked at Akamaru for a minute, then the dog barked and Kiba smiled before looking up. Okay Naruto, I guess you've got this figured out, huh? We'll wait, maybe even gather up our chakra or train while we're here, Get just a bit stronger for a better chance, in case we're separated into 1-on-1 fights. Naruto nodded and looked to Hinata, with a warm soft look. No worried Hinata-chan, we'll get through this, I promise. And after we're through with the second exam, I'll take you out for some dumplings. Hinata blushed, but smiled. Thank you Naruto-kun. How many tails do you think you can use? Naruto thought for a second before smiling. 6 is my max, not too strong, but enough in case someone finds us. Hopefully it won't be till the next day or two, when I have all 9 of my tails for our fights. Kiba didn't quite understand so he asked. Whaaaat. Tsunade stood tall in her office looking at Jiraiya and Kage stood in front of her. You're telling me his tails are not going to help him? Jiraiya cringed before sighing. Tsunade, we're sorry but we couldn't have predicted what would have happened. Naruto has 2 days from now, the day after tomorrow, and he'll have his 9 tails, maybe that'll get him through the team from Kiri, but after that the next 2 days of the 5-day period in that forest will be one-tailed stunting of his power, and then the final day with the preliminaries, if there is one. And Sasuke, not to mention Uzi, both are there with high-leveled shinobi, that means if Naruto gets paired with one of them, it'll be a fast defeat. Tsunade growled. Can't he use more? Even if he's limited, shouldn't he be able to use all 9 all the time? Kage shook his head. No, if he were to use more than the power regulations Kyuubi's powers hold on him, not only would he be torn apart from the inside if it's too high, but he'll be more likely to turn more animalistic and harsh, almost like a miniature Kyuubi if he can't handle it. Tsunade sighed before looking again. Does he realize? Seeing as it is happening to him, I would assume he knows this and would look for a fight during his least vulnerable time. Kage smiled, and Jiraiya grinned. Course he does, and he even told me he might have to wait a couple days during the forest part of the exam to actually complete it. Tsunade sighed in relief before smiling. Since we'll all be there for the preliminaries, if there is a preliminary, even if Naruto uses a little more than one tail, he'll be safe with all of us there. Jiraiya nodded. Kage though turned. Oto will be attacking, so I hope you get everything done soon. Don't want anything bad happening when Akatsuki tries something when we're vulnerable. Tsunade sighed and laid down again. Sometimes I wonder if being Hokage was a mistake. Jiraiya smiled softly. Don't get down. You're living your family's dream, live it for them, and don't worry about the crazy things happening here. It won't destroy us, but it won't let us live up to where we wish to. Tsunade smiled as her head laid on her desk. Sure, but don't you dare die on me Baka. Jiraiya laid his hand on Tsunade's head. I'll always be here to help you. My Heim. Tsunade was slightly concerned about this soft sweetness coming from Jiraiya but smiled, knowing she felt this in him even when they were kids, but doubted he would ever show it. She felt the had disappear and chuckle softly. Baka, you'll always hold my heart somehow. Maybe you should keep alive so you can bring me on a date, or I'll kill you myself. He. Lerxine appeared at the gates and looked into the vast forest. Are they stationary? The mantis looked over. For now, we'll have to be careful, or things could get ugly here. Lerxine smirked. I would love that, maybe then I could get some action. Mantis chuckled under his mask. In truth, do you believe we'll survive the double whammy that will be happening any day now? Lerxine grinned evilly. Naruto's here, so I'd say of course we will. If anything, we'll figure out what will need to be done to survive. After all, it's our instincts as humans to adapt and survive, the need to live. Mantis walked up to Lerxine. Thank you for being here, your support helps RANBU's morale, not only because you're a strong shinobi, but also because you're a capable captain, and helped us more than we could believe could affect us. Lerxine smiled softly. I'm just human, but thanks. Mantis nodded before going off somewhere. Lerxine looked into the sky. Naruto, be safe. We need you. I need you. Bakiju panted as she was starving off 10-10 in another battle, trying not to die from all the power 10-10 seemed to get in a short notice. She smiled though. You're good. Maybe I should finish this before I get too tired to win. 10-10 laughed a little, before holding her bleeding side. She managed to get cut a little too deep to fight for too long without rest, and her limit was about up. 10-10 looked with a little woozy blurring eyes at Bakiju's stance, still strong, still stable. Kuso. She's good, even for a Junin. Even if I manage to fight Guy non-stop, this is not the same. How does she keep herself so steady? Bakiju grunted before thrusting her weapon down and holding onto it for dear life, kneeling with one knee. 10-10 was slightly shocked at this before seeing the bleeding wound she managed to make a few minutes ago, and smiled, knowing Bakiju was at her limit too. 10-10 got up, on her wobbly legs, and smiled, heavily breathing in her injured form. Bakiju looked up with one eye closed in pain. 10-10 chuckled softly before coughing up a little blood. We both seem to have reached out limits. We call this a draw. Bakiju smiled before once again grunting in pain. She got up quickly. I'm not done yet. You're going to lose this one. Because of my demon I can go on for at least an hour more. 10-10 looked surprised, but then again, she heard about Yugito, and seeing as Naruto has the uncanny ability to draw in demon containers as well as good friends out of the weirdest places and change them, she didn't exactly expect it, but she wouldn't be too surprised if she had to find out another way. Bakiju stood tall, grunting in more pain and blood spurting from her back. She smiled. Ten-Ten-chan, you're great, but I was holding back a little bit, it's time to finish this before either of us get too injured. Ten-Ten nodded before gripping her scythes and rushing forth. In a second though she was punched with Bakiju's fourth knuckle, and promptly passed out from the force. Bakiju yelled in pain, her back spurting lots of blood. Thankfully it was healed almost instantly from her weasel friend. She laid Ten-Ten down and started healing the girl, still too tired and injured to keep awake herself. After the healing was done she fell on top of the girl and smiled. Ten-Ten-chan, you're such a wonderful girl to have as a friend. Maybe more, if you'll take me. Kage stood atop the Hokage mountain, looking over the peaceful village before grabbing a scroll and looking hard at its red color. The time is drawing near. Ryukagen, forgive me, for I must summon you and do the one thing. You told me not to. See you at the third exam. He put it back and looked down at the Hokage mansion and jumped, falling for a moment before landing safely on top of the building. He walked to the edge and jumped down again and walked through the streets, wondering and wandering to find one more answer for himself. A day or two passed, the third day dawning upon the forest, and in that light shone Naruto in the middle of a clearing, who smiled at the sky. It's time. We'll finish this and hopefully I can survive whatever comes at me. Shirohakume will show itself and I'll need to know how much strength it might take to beat someone of their caliber. He turned and went back into the tree and saw a sleeping Hinata, and awakened Kiba. Naruto, we're in trouble. We're close by to someone, me and Akamaru can smell it. And he says it's not good. Akamaru barks softly before whimpering in Kiba's lap. Naruto nodded. I know. We'll make it, I promise. Kiba smiled. I know. I trust you will protect Hinata. Naruto nodded smiling. Of course, but I wouldn't worry. She's a very strong girl, she can handle herself. Kiba nodded and looked to Hinata. That she can. I hope for her sake, we don't take on the strongest of these guys, or we're dead meat, either way. Naruto sighed before grinning. I have all 9 tails, no worries to that, I'll be too strong for even the entire Akatsuki. Kiba laughed a bit and looked outside. So, really think we'll battle against this Shiro group today? Naruto nodded. They have to. They know if they don't get me today they'll have to get me during the exams, and they won't risk it. They're too cautious to overexpose themselves. Hinata started to stir and both the boys smiled as they saw her wake up. Naruto grinned. Hinata-chan, good morning. Hinata smiled and rubbed her head, her hair falling all over the side of her face. She turned to look at Kiba. Then Naruto again. How long have I been out? Naruto got closer and started brushing her hair back to its shine and smoothness. Just through the night. It's no problem though. So, ready for today. Hinata whimpered a bit at feeling Naruto's hand play and fix her hair for her. She managed a nod though. After that was done Hinata got up and stretched. After Naruto went out and got them breakfast and they ate Naruto got their supplies together. We have to get moving, we don't want to get ambushed. Kiba nodded. Yeah, if we're stuck here we might not have a chance to fully get our blood pumping so we can fight with all our strength. Not a second after, they blinked and found themselves outside, hearing a small boom. Kiba set his feet to the ground and found Naruto staring away from the tree they were in, and saw quick reasoning to all this. Wow, if we were in there a second more we'd be fried. It was true, the tree was barbecued almost to ash. Hinata looked with Naruto who stood tall but sternly to the new arrivals. The man knelt down on the branch, grinning. Well, what do you know? I thought for sure you'd have been in there when I attacked. How did you know? Naruto smiled. You should honestly keep an eye on your feet, a track that isn't ours way out here when the heaven scroll was glowing. Kiba looked a little shocked but found the glowing coming from Naruto's pack. Hinata activated her Byakugan and saw something else. Who are the 2 girls behind you? The man grinned and chuckles madly. Those 2 are here to keep you 2 fools under control while me and Naruto have a little chat. And right after that was said, the 2 girls in white cloaks and red markings fly out and land in front of the trio. Kiba stepped up, Akamaru behind him. We'll take you on. Naruto, be careful okay? Naruto nodded and looked to Hinata. Don't go easy on these girls Hinata-chan, get it done quick and get back to me. I have faith in you. Hinata blushed, but smiled before agreeing her confirmation. Kiba, Akamaru and Hinata took the 2 girls away before they fought. Naruto stayed still as the man fell and landed right in front of him. Naruto noticed the 2 large swords on his back. The man smiled. Shirohakume is very interested in you Naruto. I'd hate to disappoint my master. Naruto smiled and chuckled. Well, sorry to say, your master will be very disappointed in you. The man grinned. Oh, I wouldn't say that. The man threw a lightning quick punch, but found nothing but air as Naruto swiftly got behind him, and his katana was out and against the man's throat. Naruto looked sternly. You're not going to do anything with me. The man grinned and chuckled again. Go ahead, but I warn you. Your tricks won't work. The man threw his head back and tried to butt against Naruto, but failed as the katana touched his throat at the throwback, and slashed it. Naruto looked at the unmoving man, but found no blood spurting all over. He checked his katana and found no blood, but a little streak. He knew this streak. Only a metallic object of any kind could have forced this mark. But how? Is he made of metal? A puppet? The man turned, grinning with a metallic throat. He chuckled. If you're thinking I'm not real, think again. The man's metal throat suddenly disappeared back into his shirt. Didn't see that coming, did you? Naruto stood straight and extended his arm, his katana along his arm. Midden. Henshin. Fusing your body with metal and steel, for a powerful defense, and if you use weapons, you can carry them without anyone noticing, even fusing your body to make weapons of your own. Only one person I know uses this technique, and it's not you. Either you spied and learned from him, or you were once his student. The man chuckled. Very observant. Kage would be proud to know that you know so much. I think he already does know this, seeing as he can see in the present and past of anyone he knows. Naruto didn't even flinch. The man was impressed at this. How come you're so passive? Not even a slight amount of surprise I know all this. Naruto smiled. Well, thing is, I'd rather not listen to you, and just beat the shit out of you instead. The man grinned again. Fine with me, but he took the two swords out of their packs and combined them, before twisting it around and put it arm-length ways, like Naruto's katana. Kai. He grabbed the handle with his free hand and pulled hard. What happened next would haunt Naruto's mind for the next week. The man pulled and from the giant blade pulled a black and blue sword, a chain attached to it and the large blade. As he pulled the blade in an arch above him, he pulled more chain from it, and it went behind him, but the giant blade was suddenly wrapped in glowing black chain, and glowed as it changed as well. It was a rectangle piece of metal with triangle tips at both ends from shoulder to fingers. Naruto could see from there it was also sharp on all sides, like a giant full blade. The man smirked. Tensa Toku. Nikai. A pressure wave of chakra split from the man, and he grinned evilly. When I came here, I was 20% full strength, and I only used 10%. Let's see how well you go against me full strength. Naruto stayed standing tall, hoping not to have to resort to all nine tails. From what he knew, they were Kage level and higher shinobi, and it would take everything he had to fight the leader. The man grinned and chuckled before raising the shield. Remember this number 9. The name's Nikoyan Kijuhan of the Eastern Spirit Realm. And I am going to be the one to take you on. A little far away from the massive powers of Nikoyan and Naruto, Kiba and Hinata stood with each other in front of the twin girls who seemed none too worried. After the power was released though the girls looked back in shock. He didn't release that, did he? The other girl looked at her sister. Leader won't be pleased with this. The other took a moment but turned to their opponents. We don't have time, we have to dispose of these two before the damn 9 comes here to save them. The twins got into stances, parallel to each other. Kiba got ready with Akamaru turning into him as well, both getting red. Hinata got into her Hyuga stance for the fight, and surprising to the twins, her eyes changed. Her Byakugan was activated, but it suddenly grew, the eyes straining marks disappearing, but not totally gone, as inside the pupil the eye looked to be strained from the inside instead, but in a tri-pointed sphere. Kiba smirked. Activating that already? Hinata smiled. Of course, I want to get back to Naruto quickly. Kiba looked back. Then use your other stance, it's much stronger. Hinata shook her head. No, I need to find out if I'm finally able to control this style, if I can't I might as well be a gifted commoner. Kiba nodded, knowing a secret about Hinata's Hyuga style. She managed to combine it with her animal style, but has never really tried it before, but she had worked with Naruto after all, who also found a way to combine two styles by himself, so she could be able to beat these two by herself. Hinata rushed in, using her speed to close in on the twins, and found two surprised faces to meet her. She clawed her hands, and in a second she slashed with her hands at the two, who both dodged backwards. Kiba and Akamaru used a double tornado on them and closed in on both sides. The twins split but in a way that one was met with Hinata, who kicked hard, pushing her back to the swirling mutts, one going to her, and the other after the next twin. It took only a second but after the attack Kiba and Akamaru sniffed about, and frowned. Between Kiba and Hinata stood the twins, holding their sides with blood coming from them, but only a little bit. Hinata raised her hand, to find one of her metal claws on. The twins clapped hands for a moment. You're very good, as a team. But we're only getting started. If that damn 9 is as powerful as we think, then no wonder Nikoyan released his powers. Seeing as you're both so strong we might have to do the same. They released their powers as well, and Hinata found herself blocking a powerful attack by both the twins, who held each other's elbows and kicking with opposite legs. Hinata grunted in surprise before finding a double punch. She barely managed to dodge backwards before they did, but one of the girls twisted another back and then forward again, sending a swinging kick, in which Hinata got hit and fell a few feet back on her bum. Kiba looked at the attack and found it shocking how fast they were, but got back into it and he and his copy Akamaru twisted again, but as soon as they hit, they were held into place by the twins, and forced to stop. They didn't waste much time as Kiba and Akamaru got kicked away again. Hinata got up and got into stance again, calm and steady, almost slack for a moment as her eyes became closed. The twins smiled. Up again. We'll put you right back down. The twins attacked, and just as their feet connected, Hinata pushed off with massive force, throwing them back and into the air, and what happened next would make them wonder what happened to them. Naruto he blocked the giant shield hitting him. He pushed it away and backed up, just in time too, as the shield slammed down once more. Nakoyan grinned and reached back with the giant shield blade before throwing it at Naruto, with amazing speed as well. Naruto gone in a flash, and was on top of the chain connecting the sword and shield together. Nakoyan pulled back, amazingly making arches and slacks, where Naruto wasn't able to run, but that was the least of his worries. Naruto saw behind him the shield, spinning and quickly coming at him, and with his unmovable body, Nakoyan smirked, but found a flash and caught his shield, unable to see Naruto at all. Beside him a few feet away stood Naruto, smiling. You're strong, maybe a little too strong for my normal strength, but I'm too fast for you to hit me, at least for now. I've already activated my Kage Dushinkai, which means even with my Hiroshin and enhanced muscles, I'll be too slow and might not be so lucky. Nakoyan had a straight face, not smiling or frowning, wondering though as to what this was all about. Naruto grinned before the katana was suddenly a blade running along his arm, extended a little ways farther than his fingers. As soon as it was done Naruto suddenly had fox ears, and two of Kyuubi's tails. Let's see if we are even. Naruto was suddenly in front of the man. With a grin he slashed down at him, but with everything he had Nakoyan put up his shield quickly and blocked it, before slashing with it, only to find nothing, again, but a flash. He turned and made a quick cut with the sword and missed Naruto by a hair, who was under him and striking up. Nakoyan ducked back before putting up his shield, blocking the down cut with ease before pushing off and jumping back. Naruto was pushed back a little but sprang forth once again. Nakoyan blocked each slash but didn't stay on the defense, but instead made an attack, which placed the shield blade close to Naruto's shoulder, but the arm blade of Naruto stopped it. Nakoyan struggled, but grinned. Naruto, did you know what these chains are for? Naruto grunted but smirked. To look flashy. Nakoyan chuckled. No. There to rip you open. Nakoyan used everything he had and pushed the shield down, managing to make contact. Naruto didn't have much time though, as Nakoyan pulled back and down, the blade cutting into his shoulder, and when the chains hit, flesh was torn into ribbons into a deep wound. They backed off each other, but Naruto was unfazed. Nakoyan grinned before frowning at Naruto's passive face. You're ripped and torn and shredded in the shoulder, practically to the bone, and yet you stay there with a stale face. What makes you so painless to this? Naruto smiled. Hanyus have the ability to heal, as do when they are demon containers, because the demon wishes to live instead of dying off, so they heal their jailer. The amount of potency, and the amount of chakra and power that the demon has, is equal to the healing power. Also, since the Kyuubi healed me almost constantly since I was born, you can say the chakra has not yet forgotten to heal me, kind of like a second nature to heal, without my command or even if I didn't want to heal it would. Almost instantly after the arm grew back its skin and muscle, becoming completely healed instantly. Naruto sighed before smirking. 2 we are not even. I guess 4 would do the trick. And with that, 2 more tails came to life, but Nakoyan didn't see what came next. He felt more power, and actually felt heavy. In a second from this heavy feeling came Naruto with speed unimaginable, and punched Nakoyan into the air, but only a foot as he was behind him, elbowing him forward, then kicking him up again, smashing a knee down and a punch to the chest back, then a spinning headbutt into the nose downwards, and a knee up again. Naruto disappeared in flashes only to smack around Nakoyan. Naruto stopped and stood as Nakoyan fell to the ground, but instead of dead weight, Nakoyan managed to land on one knee, coughing up a little blood. Naruto smiled, finally seeing blood for the first time in this fight besides his own. Nakoyan looked shocked at Naruto. How did you do that? So fast and strong. Naruto walked up to the man. 4 tails is not double my original power of 2, instead it's 4 times that power, and the chakra more potent, making my Hiroshin better and faster. I guess we're not even. Nakoyan smiled, coughing before chuckling. You don't understand me at all. I still have more strength, but I guess my testing is over, it's time for me to go. Tani Yani, let's fly. Hinata's attack flashed. 10 twisting strings suddenly surrounded and started shredding their skin, cutting and slashing, it made the twins suffer. For a second, Hinata's attack is a flash of chakra that encompassed the twins for a split second, but the damage done was massive, as their wounds bled profusely, each of them wondering what made her so much powerful. Tani and Yani grunted, getting up. Kiba and Akamaru once again attacked, but instead they clapped hands and they were a small 2-headed wolf, but super fasty and the tornado they created tore the 2 apart and into the trees. Kiba and Akamaru split and returned to normal, both panting and on wobbly limbs. Hinata, though steady as she looked at each girl, doubted our strength. We're much tougher than you think. Tani got up, panting heavily. We're not through until we get the order. Yanni got up as well, in the same condition. We hope soon, or we might not be going back. Just then they heard a scream. Tani, Yanni, let's fly. The girls smirked. We'll be back, so prepare for the upcoming storm. Or you'll die next time. And with that they vanished. Hinata and Kiba both ran back to find a smiling Naruto. You two seem to be okay. I felt that power, Hinata-chan. Glad you're doing well with your training. No one will last against you at this strength. Kiba smiled. She was the one to beat those two girls. I didn't do much. They saw Naruto holding a flaming earth scroll. We've got it. Kiba and Hinata jumped for joy, and the three celebrated for a while before burning the heaven scroll with the earth one's fire, and then before their eyes, the earth scroll was crispy ash. They knew why, because if it was always on fire then others could easily pass. They all went to the tower quickly and in good time, finding rooms and staying there until the exams come to the third part. 10-10 was pushed to the ground, her scythe falling away as she looked up at her attacker. She smiled though as she seen her spar was over, and Beikiju looked down to see her happiness. 10-10 had just completed her training with Beikiju, now she could honestly call herself a weapon master. Beikiju sat up on 10-10's hips, smiling down at the half-naked girl below her. Sorry about your shirt, the moon scythe you gave me has its own energy, and I used it without thinking. Good thing you still have your chest wrappings or we'd be walking back with you in my clothes. 10-10 giggled. Well yeah, but I wouldn't have minded. Beikiju smiled down at the girl, laying on top of the girl. Me neither. I'm also glad you accept me a good friend. 10-10 smiled softly but looked with a little wonder at what the girl on top of her was doing. Why not? You're my kind of girl, and I don't turn anyone away just because of something stupid. Beikiju chuckled a little. Me neither. But before we go back, here's a thank you. Beikiju leaned down more and captured the young girl's lips onto hers, a soft but chaste kiss of wonder and friendly feelings. 10-10 couldn't stop herself from wrapping arms around and locking the tacky ninja in her arms and giving the same kiss back with a higher amount of force and feeling. They stayed that way in the forest, 10-10 half naked and Beikiju without a leg of cloth, exposing some of her underwear cloth. Unknown to them, an unseen force was watching from the tip-top of the trees, smiling sweetly. Good going 10-10, you've got one lover on your hands. Destiny shall show the way from here on out. Tsunade stepped up to the 7 teams that had passed, and smiled as she saw Naruto, Hinata and Kiba all here, but frowned as she saw Sasuke and his 2 teammates. Truthfully, she wanted to trap the team now, but knowing that there was an impending danger around the corner, she decided to wait. Orochimaru wouldn't allow Sasuke to be let go easily, and Akatsuki is moving in as well, so it would be bad if Sasuke were to be captured so early. Tsunade smiled though. Welcome to the third part of the Chunin exams. Sadly, because of 21 people we must hold a preliminary battle system in order for us to advance to the true third test. You've all shown great abilities, some even greater potential to become special Chunin over just Chunin, some might even be considered elite ninja, but that won't be the case, because of 2 reasons. 1, because this is a test to see if you're rightfully able to be a Chunin, and 2, because you're still low in rank, you can only climb slowly. Naruto looked back to Hinata and Kiba and gave them a thumbs up. Just stick with your skills, and beat down whoever fights you. We'll all make it through, I promise. Hinata nodded, smiling sweetly for her love. Kiba grinned and gave Naruto another thumbs up. After that, Tsunade stepped back. We'll begin by asking if any of you wish to forfeit your chances at being a Chunin. Now choose how you end your chances. After a few talks and murmurs, a girl with red hair and glasses behind Sasuke raised her hand. Karen, choosing to forfeit. Tsunade nodded and she left the room. No others decided to go. Tsunade looked over her right side, nodded along with Lerxine, Kurenai, Kakashi and Jiraiya. She looked to her left and nodded with Beikiju, Genma, Guy and Anko. We will see who will be fighting using the screen above. The 2 challengers will stay and the rest will go above as to stay from being killed in the crossfire. The screen started slotting through names, and the first 2 to come up were Kiba and a man from Rain. Kiba's fight was nothing too special. Even after almost losing in the forest, he was able to beat down the guy with little trouble, Akamaru at his side all the time. The next fight was a man with blue skin and a black cloak, from Uzi and named Jintai. He fought the other from Rain, and won with a quick stab of his clawed fingers into the mon's stomach. It seemed like nothing too bright or exciting was going to come, when Naruto's name came up, and also the name of Haji from Uzi. They came up and Naruto saw quickly the orange mask with only one visible eye. He smiled and looked at his opponent. Haji, huh? Nice nickname for this place. I thought maybe you'd not be here, but I can guess why. He tell you to come. Haji nodded. Naruto knew it was Obito in disguise, and since only Jiraiya knew about the whole Akatsuki thing, no one else knew about this. It was going to be a very exciting fight. Genma looked at both fighters. Ready to begin. You can begin at any time now you know, but if you want a quick little chat we don't really have that kind of time but make it fast. Naruto grinned before releasing his only tail to fight. Oh, I'm ready. Mind if we get started, Haji? Obito nodded, smiling under his mask. I won't hold back. Naruto grinned more and got into stance. I wouldn't want you to. I want to see how far I can go with only one tail. Jiraiya came up to Tsunade. Haji is Uzi's cage, but he's not dangerous. If you want a true show of skill, this is our chance to see what Naruto really came up with. I only saw his Rasengan training and some fighting with Lerxine, Kage and Minato, but he has a lot of training I never knew about. Tsunade smiled wickedly. All my bets are going to Naruto winning this match. I even threw a few chips down on him showing very high skilled techniques. Jiraiya grinned. The first bet you'll ever win, Tsunade. The two watched as Hinata and Kurenai stood at the bleachers. Hinata, do you think he can do this? Hinata smiled. Of course, only me and Kiba can see his true strength. He'll win even if it costs him an arm. Kurenai smiled and put a hand on Hinata's shoulder. I believe you. Obito didn't waste a moment and disappeared behind Naruto, who saw this coming and turned around, jumping away from the sudden swinging kick to his gut. He ducked before flipping backwards from the punch and sweep kick combo. Obito laughed and none too soon as Obito threw a wild twist kicking move, which Naruto barely managed to dodge in time. Obito didn't waste a moment and launched once more a forward thrusting fist in which Naruto went back again in a flash of yellow. Obito saw this and jumped forward hard and fast to catch Naruto in the jaw, but Naruto disappeared from view. Everyone was suddenly shocked at this and wondered where Naruto went. Obito was punched hard in the gut and thrown to the wall with Naruto standing where Obito was last standing before being punched back by his fist. Jiraiya and Minato looked on in shock, but everyone else was just surprised at that move. Naruto grinned as Obito stood back up and walked where Naruto was at the beginning of the battle. What was that move? Naruto stepped up to where Obito was. No one saw it before, so I know it would be a very welcome surprise. Senku Yo-Yo. Minato and Jiraiya were both looking on in shock. Jiraiya turned to Tsunade. You got the extra bet, you lucky bitch. That one was never part of anything me or Minato ever saw before. Tsunade looked to Jiraiya with a little wonder. Naruto kept some good secrets, not even me, nor Kakashi for that matter seemed to have seen it. And he has his Sharingan out. Naruto got into a very unfamiliar stance, grinning. I came up with this about a week ago, and I have to give credit to my girlfriend Hinata-chan. She helped me figure out my own weakness and perfect myself more. Hinata blushed at being called his girlfriend, and Kurenai grinned a little and giving Hinata a little slap on her butt. You finally caught your man, Hinata, good to hear. Hinata eeped and covered her butt, blushing totally red and looking at her teacher. Thank you, sensei. Naruto's hand hung by his head, his other flung behind him in the air above him, his legs steady and even, both staying evenly away from his body, not one way forward or two inward, and Obito grinned behind his mask before releasing more of his chakra to increase his power to half. You're good, Naruto, I'll give you that, but you're no match. Lerxine gritted her teeth. You're kidding me, I never knew he'd use that in such a way. My Kage K's Hiroshin was what made my technique a teleportation device, and he used something rather unexpected and something I didn't even know possible. You're truly my son, Naruto, but you'll have to use something else, or he'll kill you. Kakashi looked to Lerxine, and with his Sharingan I saw a thin line. Your son. Lerxine sighed. I'm not who I look, I'll talk to you about this after the match is over, okay, Kakashi. Kakashi felt like he was being scolded by Minato again and nodded, shutting up until he could figure out what was a good time to suddenly take Lerxine away. Obito flew forward and chopped a slice hand to Naruto, who had his limp hand raised, and the side end of the chopping motion was caught by Naruto's back hand, but didn't stop as he quickly stepped forward, faster than Obito could see, and the hand flew lightning fast and cut part of his arm. Obito saw and backed off. Naruto grinned and took the reverse stance, not stepping back into it. Kiba was amazed at that. It was a flash of light and a blink of the eye, and it was over to him. Hinata helped teach you this. I might have to reconsider being a ninja if I have two friends who can kill me during a mission. Obito raised his strength again to 65%, and charged. Naruto though couldn't dodge back in time, because Obito took a kunai and chopped Naruto's right arm off. Hinata's shock filled the room. Naruto, ooh. Naruto stood straight, holding his bleeding arm. Okay, you got my attention. I guess I'll have to ramp it up. Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded, knowing what Naruto was thinking. Naruto suddenly popped a second tail and his body formed a little more, his fangs a little longer, his whiskers pulling out of his cheeks and being real now, and his eyes turned into slits, though they stayed blue. Naruto growled a little before grinning. Yukai has the ability to heal me almost instantly, but there's an exception. Loss of limbs or body parts. They take a little longer to regenerate. But who needs regeneration when I have a new arm ready and willing? Naruto's arm shot out and was suddenly a giant metal blade reaching his feet. Using Midden, I can stop the blood loss, no longer feel the pain, and even have something to help me out in return. So taking my limbs is a bad idea. Hinata sighed in relief before looking over Naruto. It was the same Naruto, but he was a little more animalistic than before. Even when he used his tails during her training, he was never like this. Naruto let go of his arm and leaned to one side as if falling, and before anything became of his falling form, he vanished and reappeared a few feet to the side. His body leaned the other way as his foot set down. Once again though he vanished and was back, leaning forward, and vanished. He did this over and over, to the other side, up and to the side, back and to the other. It was a random pattern but in a general circle, and every time he vanished he became quicker, and in a moment suddenly 2 Narutos appeared and disappeared together, then 3, then 4, until 6 were all that were there. Each Naruto was disappearing randomly and each of them were in the same spots. It looked like a circle of Narutos but moving and never the same. Though there seemed to be a flaw to Naruto's plan, his long arm blade was touching and scratching the ground, sparking every time it touched, and it clicked every time. Obito looked at the ground at the feet and saw sparks fly, but to his hidden Sharingan eye he slowed it down and saw the slow movements of the sparks, but Naruto stayed the same speed. He guessed it was because of the Hirishin, or some kind of technique with chakra he invented that the flash didn't appear, but the technique's effects on the Sharingan were still apparent. Obito finally saw it, a spark, and then another, but not in the same way everyone else saw it, but in slowly moving balls of light. It was one then the other, not at the same moment as Naruto's speed fooled. Just as Obito was about to charge he saw something bad happen. The sparks and scratches along the ground suddenly became 2 at the very same moment, then 3, but only 3. Obito growled in frustration. I think I figured your trick out, Naruto, and I don't like it. In a weird voice sounding like echoes or 2 people talking at the same time, Naruto spoke with a large fox-like smirk. No tricks, it's all speed. Obito smirked, thinking the clones hid his voice well. He charged into the circle and kicked high to one Naruto's chin, but the Naruto dodged his head back before disappearing and reappearing again, not even a single happening of stop from the others. He thrust a punch behind him and the Naruto leaned forward before doing the same, gone and back like always. Obito chopped another and it dodged up and back, once again going and coming. Obito listened carefully before suddenly becoming punched in the gut, then the back and swept, and slam kicked into the round, and all had seen only one Naruto after that, and no smoke. Sasuke gritted his teeth and activated his Sharingan. Naruto, how can you have become this strong? I'm the only one deserving of such power. Naruto jumped back as Obito spun his body on the ground, sweeping and trying to get Naruto before twirling his body back up to his feet. Obito sighed, panting heavily from the severe kick. He smirked though. This was only 65% of his power and Naruto still only had 2 tails of power, and a lost arm. You're at your peak. I can see a little bit of your breathing, I guess that's most of your strength. I'll agree that was not what I expected. I thought for sure you had clones for a distraction, but it really was all speed. Might I ask what that was? Naruto smirked wider. Sakasa Senku Yo-Yo. Basically the reverse flash yo-yo. You see, unlike the normal one, this one requires little chakra, thus a thin sheen of light is barely visible, and with the distance traveled not even the Sharingan can pick it up unless they want to see it. Basically I used my Hirishin to speed myself up. Obito growled. What the hell is Senku Yo-Yo anyway? Naruto chuckled. It's where I take the Raiden element of the Hirishin and reverse its pull and polarity charge. Instead of enhancing my speed I made it pull me back, like a yo-yo. Reverse is something else entirely. It uses the same principle, but in a different setting. I use the same polarity reversal, but instead I mark a new spot to be pulled to, so when I vanished and came back into sight the whole transaction was a hassle for me to complete in slow motion. I haven't actually perfected its long-term use. Obito nodded. You're a genius Naruto, I'll give you that, but you're still no match. I have only used 65% of my total strength. Naruto grinned. Good, now I get to see it. Obito released his energy to 100 and Naruto flashed his power too. He wasn't going fully yet anyway. They were pretty even, or so thought everyone who could read such things. Naruto's arm shook, and he grunted in slight pain, and held onto his arm. Obito smirked. It would seem you can't use that arm now, can you? Naruto chuckled, grinning. It hurts because it's finally done. You see, when you use Midden on a ripped limb, you no longer need chakra to sustain it, and you can use the metal limb as if it's your old one, but now invincible. After it sets it's now you, and no pain is ever created. Obito was very confused at this. If no pain is put into the making of that arm, then why is it hurting? Naruto grinned more. Because, when you use Midden, the metal fuses into your very bones, and I used the metal platelet blood cells to create a technique I made. Just as he finished 3 huge, jagged blades of metal sprang from his shoulder, only slightly higher than his head. After this technique starts, no more metal blood cells are created, and none are in your bloodstream anymore. That is the beauty of this technique, because normally metal-fused bones tend to leave nasty long-term effects. My liver was cut for weeks once until I could find all the platelets. Obito nodded. So, 3 shots of what is the question, Naruto just grinned, raising his arm and the metal blade turned into a drill. After that, one blade returned into his body. 3 blades doesn't mean anything but power enhancements. Not shots of whatever blast I desire, but I did think of that, but I have yet to perfect any metallic-based blast. No, what this is a supreme enhancement for my arm. Obito nodded and raised his kunai. Alright, so tell me, if we're even with strength and speed right now, and you're only enhancing that arm of yours for something powerful, I should be able to beat you. If I am able to dodge. Right. Naruto nodded, chuckling. You're right, but at the same time you're dead wrong. You'll see soon enough. Obito stood fast and Naruto's raised drill arm suddenly surrounded in a heavy wind, and as it sped, so did the sound in volume, in which everyone started to hear a crackling, and only those with a bloodline for enhancement could see the fine lines and bolts of lightning swirling around the drill. Obito's eyes squinted in question, hoping he could understand it. After a second he understood the wind and lightning were there to help create a longer range of the drill, and even embezzle his elements into the workings of the drill for the ultimate Rasengan, and nothing more. He thought as long as the wind didn't get close in time for his strike, as long as the lightning didn't even get close before he could cut Naruto once, he could win. Obito didn't want to beat Naruto, but knew it was either this or Naruto wasn't truly ready for his future trials. Naruto and Obito charged each other, both ready to take the kill. Lerxine gripped her arms. The same problem with Kakashi, too forward. Tunneling effect without the ability to change or block when needed. Kakashi's eyes turned wide. That did the trick and Bakiju looked over. Minato-kun, you just gave yourself away to Kakashi-kun. I hope things don't go wrong with you too. I'd like to reveal myself too, but all this time it might take will be crazy. Naruto and Obito charged, and once they grew close, Obito dodged to the right, his kunai aimed and poised just as he was close to striking a still Naruto. He was suddenly blown away by a large light. Obito hit the wall and coughed blood, though no one saw. All they saw was a piece of his mask break off, and the young face of Obito was partially revealed. Only his Sharingan eye and part of his head was showing, but he knew no one would recognize him. Naruto stood still, grinning from ear to ear, wondering what happened. Obito nodded, grunting in pain as he was spent. Naruto's metal drill regraded and was now just an arm of metal. That would be easy. You see, the drill had opening in it, and you know the metal blade in my shoulder. It turned back into those platelets I told you about, and shot out in small bits. Not even the Sharingan can see them that small, and the wind spun them round and round, and just as you came close I used the wind and put up 4 blades in each direction, up down, and left and right, all of which would have caught you with the twister of metal, in which I used to create a large amount of shock connecting them, and when you touched them you got shocked badly, and even cut a little and the wind suddenly pushed you away, and both Raiden and Fuden elements blasted you into the wall. Obito got from the wall, and limply leaned forward in pain and exhaustion, hoping to keep standing to at least give up in dignity. So you came up with a strategy to keep yourself from being taken out with that tunneling move. Naruto nodded and allowed his tails to disappear, his normal self returning once more. He sighed. You need to complete moves, and make sure there is no weakness, and if there is still one, make sure you create something to make the usage less lethal on you. That is how even those without good eyes can make a move like this and not be beaten. Lerxine sighed and smiled. I guess I gave him too little credit. He is my son after all. Obito smiled under his mask. You win, and with 2 tails and only 1 enhancement. Not even your special ability came into play. I guess you really will be ready for it all. Naruto nodded and Obito raised his hand weakly. I give up, Proctor. I can't take any more without dying. Genma nodded. Winner. Naruto. Hinata sighed. I didn't know Naruto could use those moves, but I'm glad he can protect himself from even cage-level shinobi. Kurenai nodded and Kiba sat down. I swear, if everyone gets stronger than me I'm not gonna be any use as a shinobi. Kurenai and Hinata laughed at that. You're strong, Kiba-kun, and we do need you, but you still need to be stronger. Kiba smiled. Yeah, I know. Now get ready for your turn, Hinata. I got a feelin' it'll be soon. Lerxine's shoulder was grabbed and Kakashi looked at her turn. Talk now. She nodded and they disappeared. They were far away now and Lerxine changed, and stood before Kakashi was Minato. Long time no see, Kakashi. Kakashi was shocked at seeing this before looking down sadly. Sensei. I'm sorry. I failed you as a teammate. I failed you as your friend. Minato took Kakashi's shoulder in hand. Kakashi, nothing could have predicted what happened in the past. I am back to life, but only because of Cage, but now that is over. We're together now. Kakashi smiled under his mask sadly before once again frowning. What about Kushina? I couldn't stop her from leaving and now she's probably dead. Minato chuckled and smiled. She's alive, always has been. She's been in Taki, and so have I. Sadly we couldn't show ourselves or be hunted down, you know that. We couldn't allow anyone to figure anything about us out or things would be disastrous for you. Minato chuckled. Nah, she's real, she's just busy, probably keeping Bakiju out of trouble. She tends to jump on people sometimes. They hardly live through all the pain but Lerxine keeps her in line. Minato thought a moment before thinking it might be true. So Bakiju in the room we left was Kushina. Minato smiled more. Yep. Kakashi smiled and chuckled. Do I feel stupid for not seeing it? But still, Naruto put on a good fight. Who was that guy anyway? He was incredibly strong, and I was kind of wondering since a week ago how he could even possess the Sharingan. Minato sighed. He'll talk to you when he is ready, he has a bone to pick with you anyway. Don't ask me though, it's his problem and yours not mine. Kakashi nodded in agreement before they returned. When they did they saw Sasuke killing the second Iwa Nin. They got the info that the Kilafuki from Uzi killed the first of them with a single blow, and knew Sasuke caused the second. The Rain Ninja came and won against the last of the Iwa Nin, easily though from a stupid rain needle technique. That left only Hinata and Jugo. They stepped up, Hinata activating her claws and getting into her animal stance. Jugo stood completely still. I don't wish to fight, but in order to please Orochimaru-sama I must kill you. Jugo's curse activated, his powerful secret showing, and he stood there with an overgrown arm and shoulder, part of his torso becoming living armor. Hinata turned her Byakugan into its second form. She remembered her training with Naruto. Flashback. Naruto took his new stance, smiling as he had three tails out. He panted as Hinata was giving him a run with three tails no less. Hinata's eyes were burning at her chakra, and she was having trouble keeping it up and running. Naruto grinned. Hinata-chan, you realize we still need to go even if you're hurting, right? You promised, you even swore on yourself you'd never stop. Hinata smiled at her love interest. I know, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Suddenly Naruto was upon her and her chakra flared, and she saw it all. She seen the moving leg, the kick and slowing fall, and she put an arm up to block. It was a split second and she did it, blocking the kick and thrusting her claw into Naruto's stomach. Naruto grunted in pain before smiling. Good Hinata-chan, we did it. We pulled out your secret Kekkei Genkai. Hinata pulled her weapon from Naruto and looked at the rapidly healing wounds. I forgot you heal fast, Naruto-kun. But thank you. I think I notice my true power. Naruto smirked, giggling. Good. Now let's train its true potential. Hinata looked down unsure. But how do we do that? I don't even know what to do with it. Naruto smiled and held Hinata again in his arms. Hinata-chan, listen. You'll realize why you have this ability, and be able to hold onto it, but not only that, but you will also be able to surpass it and gain even more power. I know you'll only grow stronger. Hinata held Naruto and smiled. Thank you, Naruto-kun. After a hugging fest they separated and fought again, non-stop to keep the power alive to tame. End flashback. Hinata looked sternly at her opponent. Genma didn't even call out a begin a second too soon as Jugo suddenly thrust his arm, stretching it to crush Hinata. Hinata jumped up and when the arm hit the wall behind her she landed on his arm and ran along it. He threw his arm up and Hinata twisted off, falling to the ground and using her claws, she tried to cut Jugo in the chest, but he jumped back and slammed his arm down. Hinata blocked this but moved to the side with grace and let the arm fall beside her, stabbing her claws again, but the arm came back and blocked. She was thrown back afterwards. Jugo threw his arm out again and it spread. Hinata tried going back but it was too fast, and closing in. Her body grew blurry and as soon as the blurring started it ended with Jugo, arm closing and hitting where Hinata was. Naruto hit the rails. No, she's not ready. That move is way too advanced for her to have completed it without my knowing. Kurenai looked at Naruto then back at the stadium. The smoke cleared and before they saw anything Jugo's arm digressed in shreds and he yelled in pain before it grew back into place. They suddenly saw two Hinatas holding a claw each. Naruto smiled and chuckled. I should have known. She used the time training with me to pour her chakra into her weapons, no wonder that move worked. The Hinatas called it out before both of them rushed. Iki Rikaku. Spirit separation. Both flanked Jugo's now slightly weakened body, and both tried to jump in but one got hit hard with the arm, the other managed to cut hard by the other's claw. The hit Hinata shook in a blur, panting hard in breath. Naruto grunted. I thought so. Being hit once and the technique becomes brittle. Kurenai was curious. You know this technique. Hinata never mentioned it. Naruto sighed. Hinata-chan made it a day before we started the exams. She uses her own spirit energy to separate herself into two, each knowing what to do, and each having the ability to connect again. Thing is, she's yet to perfect it, and this is the first and only time it ever worked. We don't know what will happen if one gets hurt or if they are separate for too long. It's unstable, and you can see it now. Kurani watched in wonder and fright, hoping for the best. Hinata returned to the one that was hit, and sighed. She saw something unusual right after though, and was almost unable to dodge the arm coming at her from the distraction. After she dodged she rushed in and just as the arm came along Naruto felt a strange energy engulf the arm for the kill and looked a little frightened at why Hinata didn't see it, or what she was even thinking. She jumped up in a twist, saving herself but as the arm stopped she hit the ground. She didn't wait and stabbed the arm hard and deep in Jugo, and her other stabbing his back. Jugo, I understand the pain, I understand what's going on. Orochimaru was wrong, and I'll save you. In a moment it took for everyone to blink. Jugo's arm disappeared and Sasuke gasped as he felt his power leave him. He felt where his mark was and looked, only to see nothing. It had disappeared. Jugo gave up and gone up with her to Naruto. Naruto grinned. I can't believe the move worked, Hinata-chan. He hugged her close before kissing her. She blushed, smiling. It was hard to maintain, but I did it. Jugo was being controlled by his powers. He was the curse seal, not another person who had one. He's a good guy. Now the curse seal is gone forever. Naruto nodded, smiling. I guess I rubbed off on you, Hinata-chan. They all laughed and Jugo told them of everything he knew from Orochimaru. It was going to be a long month. Naruto and Hinata stood at the entrance to the Forest of Death after their little ordeal and looked at the forest one last time. Naruto smiled. It's going to be the last time we're here, won't it, Hinata-chan? Hinata nodded, sighing contently. I'd rather not come back, but in some way I'll miss its dangerous sense of action. Naruto lifted his right arm, looking at the metal limb he had made as a replacement until he was fully healed. It'll take a day or two, but it'll be healed. Hinata took the metal arm in her hands and raised it up to her face, smiling at Naruto. No matter what you look like or if you've lost an arm, I know everything will be okay if we're together. Naruto smiled before seeing Hinata kiss the metal hand. He took her hand in it and looked sweetly at her. You know I can't feel your touch. Hinata giggled. I know you didn't feel it physically. But you heart felt it. I know. Naruto nodded. Yeah, it did. Thank you, Hinata-chan. So, shall we go eat something before I get called off to Tsunade's office for some dumb talk? Hinata giggled and accepted the offer, and they both went off to get a bite to eat. They made it to Ichiraku and entered to be yelled at and paraded by confetti from 4 people. Tsuki grinned wide. Welcome to the all-you-can-eat for free ramen special. Ayame giggled, smiling as she set down all the ramen choices they were able to cook in a short amount of time. Choose and eat, winners. Congrats on the wins. Jiraiya laughed as they all partied. Come on, you two. You deserve a good meal. Kage smiled, though passive, only nodding. Naruto smiled and pointed to Kage. Hinata-chan, this is Kage. He was one of my senseis in Taki. He's the one who taught me the ancient ways of the Hyuga. Hinata bowed. Thank you. It helped me in my other style a lot. I'm grateful. Kage smiled more. No worries, Hinata-san. Anything for Naruto and you. Naruto smiled and they all enjoyed a bowl or two each and told their story. Soon though Neji came across, smiling. Hinata-sama, Hiashi-sama would like to give you his graces for finishing the preliminaries with such skill, but he would also like to talk soon about how you did so. But also Tsunade-sama would like to meet you and Naruto with Jiraiya and Kage-san all right now. Hinata sighed but smiled, nodding to her cousin. Thank you, Neji-ne, I will be home soon. He nodded and left. Ayame sighed. This was supposed to be a happy time. You passed the second exam and got through the preliminary disqualifier, but now you have to go, for who knows how long. Kage smiled sadly. He'll be away for at least a week, at most a week and a half. Things are about to become very hectic. Naruto groaned in disappointment. I hate it when you give bad news, it's always much harder than you give it credit for. Kage laughed with Jiraiya, and only Hinata and the Ichiraku owners didn't get it. Kage got up. Well, I'm gone. I've got to keep an eye out for a few things before I get back to Taki. I still need to do a few things before I'm back here for the exams. Naruto nodded, but Jiraiya answered. See y'all later, Gaki. Can't have you running off and getting your ass killed before the time comes. Kage smiled and nodded. Hinata looked at Naruto pleadingly as well as Tsuki and Ayame. Come on, don't look at me like that. Okay, he's a friend who has the ability to see into the future of anyone he meets, and anyone from their past, whether childhood or just met, and even their acquaintances and so on. He sees that I will have a very hard time after Tsunade sends me somewhere. Tsuki was still confused, but Hinata got it. Ayame didn't let it go, but Jiraiya told her straight out. The kid's a genius who has a special Kekkei Genkai, like the Sharingan, and using that ability he can tell you what your future might be, but if it has nothing to do with him interfering, then it is always true. They finally got it, and after Naruto, Hinata and Jiraiya all ate, they went off, leaving the 2 ramen lovers to their shop. Lerxine though came in a few minutes after. So, this is his favorite spot. He never actually told me about it except it had the best ramen, and if he says it's good food I'll try. Tsuki looked a little surprised. Welcome to Ichiraku. May I help you? Lerxine smiled. Yeah, could ya cook me up some shoyu? Ayame nodded and went off, and Lerxine looked at the girl's bottom as she ran through the small shop. Tsuki didn't notice but cleaned up the previous mess. So, what were you saying earlier? Lerxine grinned. Well, Naruto told me about a ramen joint here in Konoha and thought if it's good food I'll try it out. But he never told me where the place was or what its name was, partially because it rained him so hard and he never had that much time to talk to me. Tsuki nodded. He just left, you know. We just celebrated his victory in the second phase of the Chunin exam. Lerxine nodded. I know. Kakashi told me. So, what exactly is going on in this place? Nothing much to do but jobs and laying about. She got her ramen and started eating, moaning in delight as the food touched her tongue. Chuki laughed a little. Well, that may be true to some, but not everything is boring. Especially with Naruto, he's a bundle of laughs. So what bring Taki here anyway? I never knew an Anbu to never wear a mask. Lerxine giggled. I don't because I don't exist. All they can see from my face is just that, and I'm not in any books, so I don't have to wear a mask. All Anbu are known for something, and I am known for my face and nothing else. Chuki nodded. Still, what's Taki doing in town? Did you all know Naruto or something? Lerxine giggled. No, we knew Jiraiya, and Kushina, and then Naruto came by and everyone was a-bustling. I actually helped train him, but somehow I feel he's learned how to use my training in ways I never believed. Ayame came by again. Well, he's Konoha's #1 unexpected knuckleheaded ninja after all. He'll always use whatever skills he can to surprise us. Lerxine smiled. Yeah, I know, but still sometimes it's always a skill impossible to use, but he pulls it off. Still, I'm glad because someday soon he'll have to use all he knows. Chuki sighed. Not another. That got Lerxine's attention. Another. What do you mean? Ayame smiled. A guy with his forehead protector over his eyes told of something happening with Naruto in a second, and maybe gone for a week or two. Lerxine started laughing at that, and with their confused, bewildered looks she stopped, smirking. That's our Cage. He may have told about Suna's trouble. Their Cage just got kidnapped. Chuki and Ayame looked shocked, yelling their confusion. Lerxine smiled. No worries, Naruto's on the case. Chuki and Ayame nodded. But what I was talking about was Odo's second invasion. Orochimaru is just outside the village hoping to rid Konoha from the world. Chuki sighed, sitting down. This old man needs some rest. I can't handle all this. Ayame helped her father up but smiled. Thanks, we are able to foresee things going on now, but hopefully you're wrong. We don't want trouble. Lerxine nodded. I understand, but it'll happen. War and troubles need to happen in order for peace to come. Tsunade sighed as she opened the letter. Naruto and Hinata both came in with Jiraiya, but Cage had seemed to disappear. Naruto, it's my understanding that Gaara has sent for you to come quickly to Suna, but for what I am unsure, he told to bring a medic and to also bring highly trained and superior fighters to help. All I can say is Shizune and I are the best medics, and because of the prelims such badly wounded people, and with the upcoming invasion we'll need all our medics and even a little training for those who have yet to be trained. I can't send a minor med nin, but I can't send one of our finest, so this causes a problem for me. Naruto nodded. I've got a few skills in the anatomy books but not enough to fully heal against major injuries or poisons new or old, but if we may I'd like to pick whom shall join us in our way there. Tsunade nodded. Me and Hinata will be more than sufficient, but Rock Lee should definitely come just in case we need a taijutsu-only specialist to keep our enemies on their toes, and Tamari will be coming with us, but any more than 5 will probably kill us when we leave the village. Tsunade nodded again, agreeing since Odo had them surrounded and changing shifts each day to keep Konoha's movements during the exams under control, and also to help stop their finance, thus keeping their ability growth to a minimum. If more than 5 gone out at a time of a day, then not only would they be out of bounds with the Chunin exam rules, but even if the matter was urgent the teams would be gone and Odo would invade when they're most vulnerable. It was perfect to Odo but not exactly their best plan. They underestimate Naruto and his faith in these people. They will be sorry they let 5 pass. Jiraiya smiled. Cage is out of the question, he has one ace up his sleeve, we'll just need if Odo invades when they leave. Tsunade was curious. Jiraiya kept talking about his ace up the sleeve. Well, if you say so, but I don't trust this ace. Naruto grinned. Then trust my word, Oba-chan. Cage has something even I can't beat. Tsunade smiled. Okay Naruto, I'll trust ya, but keep in mind that this mission isn't a cakewalk. Gaara specifically asked for you, and knowing you were there once, then I can only assume he wants strength and intellect to beat this enemy that he says attacked. Naruto's eyes shrank. No, Gaara would never admit an enemy beat him until he's dead or dying. He didn't write the letter. Tsunade continued. So Naruto accept. Just as he was about to answer no, a Junin slammed himself in. Tsunade-sama. Suna's given us a priority encryption. Tsunade held out her letter. You're late, we have our in need order from Suna already from Gaara. The Junin shook his head. Impossible. Their fastest bird just flown in with an encrypted black ink message. That got Tsunade's attention. Jiraiya growled. What the heck is the other letter we have then? The Junin panted, out of breath. No clue Jiraiya-sama. All I know is that it's a fake now. Gaara's been reported as kidnapped. Naruto growled. What? That did it, and he took the now translated message. Send help immediately. Akatsuki has attacked and beaten Gaara in front of village and passed out. Condition unknown. Sandstorm stopped all tracking since last night when it happened. Tamari still in Konoha and Konkuro tracking them currently as you read this. Entrance blocked off so no force can be mounted against them. Please send help. Damn. He said it in front of Sunmaid. Call everyone. Find Lee and send him. Tamari and Shikamaru all to the gate immediately. Me and Hinata will be there waiting. He stormed out, Seven Tails emerging and his body becoming slightly animalistic. Jiraiya sighed. Hurry Tsunade. When he's like this it's better to say yes and do so. Tsunade nodded. That will be all. Send all Anbu we have left on search for Shikamaru and Lee. Temari will be found soon with Naruto on the way. Wait. Also send for Shino. His bugs may be able to help heal. Tsunade sighed. Hinata, please go. Find out what you can pack in 2 minutes and hurry to the gate. I don't think Naruto will accept tardiness with this mission. Hinata nodded and ran out. Jiraiya got up and walked up to Tsunade. Tsunade, you think this will be wise? Temari is still here and will leave right? Tsunade sighed. No, she's the ambassador of Suna, and the sibling to Gaara. I'd say she gets a free pass as well as being within the group for Naruto. They will be fine. Besides I can guess why Shikamaru would be in this group. Hawk appeared next to Shino who was once again helping Kurenai who was flirting with Anko at the moment. Shino-san, you're requested at the West Gate. A team will meet you and you will be briefed for a mission. Please hurry, it is an important emergency. Shino nodded before turning to Kurenai. I must go. Have fun. Kurenai nodded before Shino left in a hurry, but eeped as her butt was squeezed and pinched. She grinned. Naughty girl. Let's get back so we can have some fun. Anko didn't wait and forces Kurenai to the ground in a heap of kisses. Ferret showed up to Lee and Guy. Lee, you're needed at the West Gate. Please hurry as it's an emergency, and requires your attention. And was gone. Lee and Guy posed and said goodbye before Lee went and hurried to the gate, trying to be the first of whatever team would be there. Bear approached Shikamaru. Shikamaru-san, you're requested at the West Gate for an emergency mission. Please hurry as it requires your assistance. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome. Alright, I'll be there as soon as I'm ready. Bear nodded and left hurriedly. Shikamaru sighed another troublesome, hoping it wasn't too important. Temari was first to arrive at the gate. Seeing Naruto there she thought he was going to see her off, but when she got closer she felt it, the killer intent she felt whenever Shikaku ever managed to make an appearance. She walked slowly before touching his shoulder, but he didn't do anything but a low growl. She looked at his tails to see 8 flowing behind him. Naruto. Naruto didn't budge, but spoke nonetheless. Gaara's been attacked and kidnapped, and Yumi and a few others are going to go save him. Temari gasped before turning a little panicky. What? Are you sure? Naruto nodded. I didn't think this would happen, but it did, and now I'm angry. I don't give a fuck who gets hurt in our way, but I'll tear everyone limb from limb if it means saving Gaara. Temari nodded, looking a little sad. Naruto turned a little. Don't you dare. Crying won't save him. All you can do is do your best to be happy for him that he is still alive and help him. Besides, knowing Gaara the village is safe and that is good enough for him. Temari looked at Naruto and after a while she smiled a little. Okay, thanks. So, what is this all about, Naruto? Suddenly losing your nerve. Shikamaru yawned. Naruto smiled as Hinata returned as well to his side, and Lee was a blur but was there in a flash, with Shino a bug clone away. Naruto lost his smile and turned back to their path, sensing nothing for the moment. Gaara of Suna has been kidnapped, beaten and almost dead, but it was Akatsuki, so he is still alive to have the beast within taken out. Now there is more though. We are going to go and get him back, whether Akatsuki likes it or not. Shino nodded as Lee saluted. Yosh, let us go forward. Shikamaru got a little more determined. Alright, let's get this going. From what Jiraiya said to Tsunade this morning, Akatsuki need at least 3 days to get the beast out, and since they got the thing last night, they should have gotten to base nearby, if not now then soon. And it will take those 3 days to get to Suna, find out what intel has to offer and get to the base fast enough to get Gaara back before the Ichidime is taken from his body. Naruto nodded. We go. Temari is already gone, she should be up ahead still. We'll find her and tell her the news after we get her moving with us. They all nodded, and after touching Naruto in some way, for his instructions, they were suddenly slung forward in a flash, and in a bright light Temari winced, and after the light gone, she saw Naruto and the group. Hey there Naruto, I was just heading back, is something wrong? Naruto looked to Lee then back. You seen the bird didn't you? Well come with us, we'll tell you everything while we get going. Temari nodded and they all jumped through the path, running before entering the trees, finding a path through to quickly leave. Naruto sensed nothing yet and turned. Gaara's been kidnapped since last night because of Akatsuki. Because of this though the fastest carrier bird arrived and now we're going to get him back. Temari gasped. But, do you think we'll need so little? I mean Akatsuki is a grand force of high-class missing nin, they're no pushovers. Naruto scoffed. Shino took down Kankuro on even ground a few years ago, and only gotten stronger, and Kankuro is at least as strong as an elite Junin, maybe even Grand Anbu. He is also here to help heal just in case of casualties, since they blocked off and blasted the only entrance to Suna on their way out with Gaara. Lee looked back. I am here as taijutsu backup, and we must hurry to help Gaara. Naruto, how about we pick up speed? Naruto shook his head. Not yet, we'll pick our pace up after we reach Oto's surrounding lines. They keep traffic around us and take out weaker forces, but with our speeds we can outrun them. Shikamaru groaned. I can't. I'm a sloth of a shinobi, you can't use me. Naruto grinned. Think so. Shikamaru thought and then smiled. Smart Naruto. I'm the diversion after you pick it all up to Suna. I lead them around a little then head back. Naruto nodded. Now we're heading up to their stopping point, just blast through. At the line Oto made to keep Konoha from mobilizing, Sasuke, Karen, and Suigetsu were waiting. Karen picked up something. Nearby, 6 signatures, and one is pretty large, larger than the rest of them combined. Sasuke grinned. Naruto. We'll see if you gotten even a little stronger. Before he could manage to see them he felt their winds pick up and suddenly felt their bodies pass. Karen screamed as she turned back. They got past. Sasuke didn't hesitate and vanished, jumping through the trees to catch up. Behind Karen and Suigetsu both managed to get back up to him. They all caught up to Naruto and Naruto was in the back of the pack. Sasuke grinned. You think you can run, Naruto? Naruto turned and jumped backwards smiling. Nice to see you, bro, but I got bigger fish to fry. You're gonna have to wait till I return to get your butt whooped. He put his hands together quickly. Kitsune Gige. Komiyaka Kaji Gensu. Fox Arts. Friendly fire illusions. For everyone's vision, even Sasuke's Sharingan could not break, was fireballs, no longer Naruto or friends, but balls of purple flame, and not even Karen's chakra detection could work. And in a blink of an eye, tens of more fireballs quickly covered their sight, and 3 groups spread off, one straight, another to the left, and another to the right. The 3 chasers split accordingly, and one chased a group while the others chased theirs. Sasuke chased for at least an hour, being led nowhere until his sight returned, and found multiple Narutos only, and all of which disappeared as well, leading him back to Orochimaru, who had a few words with him. Karen's vision returned and she could only sense 2 chakra separate now, one was large, and the other now so large, but very potent. Her sight showed multiple Narutos and Shikamaru heading for the gate of Konoha, and scoffed before pulling back. Shikamaru made it safely before returning to his Konoha duties, sighing his troublesome speeches. Suigetsu's returned to find everyone with a few extra Naruto around, who all disappeared suddenly. Only the main group left. Naruto grinned. Only the Kiri betrayer is here. A good shock and maybe a fire too could put your ass out. Suigetsu scoffed, pulling his blade. We'll see about that, dumbass. He swung only to find Naruto on his blade with a foot planted in his chest, but before he could fill it with his water body again he was instantly shocked by a powerful lightning rod-like attack, and from his sword and his heart, his body vaporized a little before slumping to the ground, puddling into water as he fell unconscious. Naruto returned to the head of the pack. Alright, my clones sent Sasuke to Orochimaru, and we're too far away for that damn girl to sense us, so we're safe, and made it through no problems. Tamari gasped at this new Naruto she was seeing. Wow, you've grown this much in a whole year. What else can you do? Naruto. Lee grinned. You're exceptional, Naruto-kun. Stronger than I would ever imagine. I hope you don't have many more secrets from us, or we'll have to spar to figure them all out. Naruto chuckled. Yeah, right. I'd be able to beat you, Lee, with your gates open too, without using any secrets. Hinata giggled. Naruto, come on, they're friends, could you tell them a little maybe? Naruto smiled. Can't, but I can show you later maybe, if I'm able to. Hinata giggled while Shino just analyzed what kind of strength Naruto could possess. After a day went by they were making great time and were getting even closer to Suna. They might make it today if they jumped into hyperdrive and no distractions. Sadly it was not meant to be as Itachi was waiting for them in a clearing next to the desert. Naruto. Naruto growled a little. Itachi thought saw through the act. Sorry Naruto, but I cannot let you pass today. Naruto raised an eye, his hand going up a little by it. Really? I thought for sure you'd be in Konoha looking for me again. I mean you moved in Angara, why not me next? Itachi looked away for a second. Because you're worthless to us until we catch the others. Wasn't what happened last time, you went after me first. Itachi scoffed. You were weak, a perfect chance to get the beast stronger than the rest. Naruto slid under Itachi then stood behind him, his katana out and attached to Itachi's throat. Well you should have taken me while you still could. Itachi smiled, unknown to everyone a genuine good smile before disappearing and standing in the air. Naruto, sorry to tell you but you're not leaving until I say so. Naruto activated one tail and cut into Itachi's body, only for it to disappear at the strike in the illusion of crows. Naruto smiled. The symbolic crow. The dark bird of friendship. Perfect Itachi. Intimidating and scared to be around from your outer appearance, or because of the past, your actions, but you're a great person on the inside. Everyone should see this. Lucky for him, the symbolism of the crows reached into Lee and Hinata. Itachi caught Hinata in a kunai. Let us talk. Naruto seen this first, and a small gesture from Itachi, that no one saw and Itachi was lucky to make such a quick move. Naruto in two tails reacted and ripped the arm off Itachi, then kicked him into the air. Hinata saw Naruto smile before he vanished, kicking Itachi into a nearby tree and then arming him to pin Itachi's head and body into it. Talking is over, time to die. Itachi once again vanished. Naruto grinned. Having two tails, he was having a great time testing himself. He never once had to test his powers like this, and knew Itachi was one of those special non-cage, cage-leveled shinobi. It was going to be very fun. Itachi was round him, everywhere. Naruto knew this trick. Everyone thought two things. Either an illusion, or cage bunshin, shadow clones, but no, it was something much more than that. Naruto grinned. Kyosha. Correct copy. It is stronger and better than a normal clone, and a shadow self, it's even better when used in high amounts. Naruto kicked backwards, kicking the Itachi back and into another copy, both knocked down, but not gone. As another came up, Naruto slashed its head off, only then did it go away in smoke. Naruto ran to the side and stabbed one Itachi in the heart, and using the standing obstacle while it continued to exist, kick off and crush another Itachi's head inside out, blasting it to pieces before using the Senku Yo-Yo, and back to the falling sword. The three remaining Itachis threw dozens and dozens of shuriken, and all stopped as a cage around a defending Naruto. Hitachi Gokusha Atami. Butai Sho. Yakedo. All three had breathed fire and encompassed the entire cage of death surrounding Naruto. Naruto frowned. Fire Weasel Prison of Pain. He's using his second strongest jutsu chain. Naruto then grinned again, loving the challenge. Only to cry out in pain at the 10 sudden needles of fire hitting his body, and took it, not letting himself scream, but instead fought it and stopped the needles from hitting him too hard. He held some of the places and saw burns that would heal but not for a while yet, even with his maximum healing speed. Stage 1. Burn. Itachi and his copies took a triangle formation. Butai ni. Gizu. Naruto was suddenly surrounded by a twister of fire, then heard the sound of metal, and his skin was suddenly open, wide gashes of wounds opening to his body were appearing over him, and he screamed this time. Gash. Kusu. Ah, hurts. Last stage is lethal, only used to ill, or for carriers. Potentially. But most likely a painful sensation that runs through the body so strong they faint and never wake. Itachi grinned. Butai. San. Kirema. Naruto's screams were heard from inside the dome to the outside, and Hinata broke at the sight. Naruto ooh. Hinata cried out, and the fake Itachis disappeared and so did the dome of fire, to view a burnt, eyeless Naruto, standing on weak gashed feet and a limp hand and arm holding onto the sword still, but only for a moment for it fell to the ground as he did. Itachi closed his eyes. Now to take you to the lair. Shino's bugs ran free but were blown to bits with a fire jutsu, and in the smoke came a gateless Lee, who was thrown down to the ground with a bent leg, and Tamari pulsing her fan into a whirlwind to catch the man, only for the wind to stop and Itachi's eyes trapping her. She fell in a heap as Lee was thrown into her, who both slammed into a tree. Shino, though, bug-less now, tried a few punches without success and got hit to the ground and formed a small crater. Hinata fell to her knees in shock at her love, burnt, broken, and cut open like a piece of useless meat. And she could not move. Only for the second as her anger rose and she moved on her own, and slammed a palm into Itachi's gut, forcing him back. Impossible. Not so, as she did it again, slamming his face to force his body back again, then kicking him into the air before raising, only for a knee to catch her gut and force her down. Itachi sighed. He warned me. Now to keep you busy. Just as eye contact was made, though Hinata's body was lunged forward, she forced herself to get up and attack for her love, and was only an inch away from smashing foreheads, when the contact was briefly made, allowing the Mangekyo Sharingan's nightmarish power, Tsukuyomi. In the abandoned world of shadows and horrors, Hinata was placed, and found within was only nothingness. Hinata looked around briefly before the world came to a close and began to change to a rather familiar sight. A ragged old mattress, some photos and some little knickknacks. She gasped, knowing this room. Naruto's room, but why am I here? Am I in the Sharingan's powers? Itachi's voice came through. Yes, and you will stay here. Naruto appeared smirking rather sheepishly and naked in front of Hinata, who just blushed and didn't move as if she were a statue. Hey Hinata, so you wanted to see? Here I am. Hinata fainted, but only felt so, as her body was forced up and awake, and Naruto grinned again before walking up and placing her on the bed. You sure you want us to have some of our little fun time here? Itachi shivered in his mind before getting everything up to snuff, then touched in with all he could to proceed with his plan. You will stay and endure this for the next 72 hours. Multiple Narutos suddenly appeared and hovered above Hinata, all laughing and fighting on who would please her body next, till they all assaulted, taking her clothes off, sucking, biting, rubbing, touching, every single imaginable pleasure racking her body, from the simplest touch to the more complex of pleasure. They did it one by one, then a gang, giving her everything she desired and more, till Itachi came on again. 71 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds to go. After an hour in that world, she lost her mind, and started screaming till she just enjoyed it all. Itachi sidestepped the blow Hinata made and watched her convulse and shake, drooling, bleeding and wetting her clothes from chest to pant pockets. That was incredibly disgusting, but it had to be done. In truth, he was a little bit turned on. Watching everything unfold was rather intoxicating, but wished it was him with a girl he would spend his life with, but had to keep the images of Naruto in check to torture pleasure the girl to stop attacking him. He picked up Naruto and started to walk, feeling tired from having to use two of his strongest moves in order to take down a bunch of kids. Naruto, you're one special guy. After an hour, a shadow came from behind the trees and sighed. What am I gonna do with you? Itachi. Guess I'll take it then. Thanks for not hurting them. Especially her. No. Lee woke up violently in a sandy bed. Around him stood Temari, Shino, and at the end of the bed Konkuro stood. Suna. How did we arrive? Last thing I remember is my foot being bent into a million pieces by Itachi. Gave us quite a scare, y'all little shit. Thought those green beasts of Konoha had more oomph in them. They all turned to see Yugito standing at the door. Itachi wasn't even fighting, he was just playing with you guys. Lee growled a bit. What did you say? The handsome green devil of Konoha does so have more spirit to fight than that. He caught me off guard is all. Yugito laughed. Sorry, off guard. You're the one who went charging in after the bugs gone bye-bye. So you can't really say you were off guard, more like on the attack to me. Shino put a hand on Lee's shoulder to make him lay back down. Rest. Konkuro nodded. Yeah, and don't forget, Hinata got it worst of all. You guys don't really understand her condition, and in fact, neither do we. It's a mystery. Lee looked to the bed next to him to see a shivering and sweating Hinata, raggedly breathing. You're kidding. What's wrong with her? Konkuro sighed. Not too sure. She has slight bruising on her stomach. Maybe Itachi tried to take it easy on her to knock her out, but then again, that's all the evidence we could muster. We have no mental doctors here to tell us anything, and the only other thing we know sure of it's slightly sexual. Lee was now even more confused, wondering what that meant. Why do you say sexual? Sure, she's in a sweat, and her breathing suggests it, but that's almost the only thing there to prove it. She could have a fever for all we know. Nope. Konkuro sighed again. Every time we even lay a feather on her, or touch her in any way or form hard or just not even a single touch yet, she'll shiver and convulse, screaming out. After it ends, we find soaked sheets and beds. It's sexual all right. Yugito nodded. Itachi apparently couldn't fight her in his genjutsu, not when she was so raging mad, but he could calm her and force her into another type of torture. But either way, he's much stronger than all of you. The only way we can beat him is not even here. Temari looked down. And it's our fault for letting him go one-on-one with Itachi, hoping he was stronger. Lerxine scoffed as she appeared at the door. You're kidding, this is his plan all along. He gets hurt bad enough to go and be where Gaara is. When he gets there he'll have to beat two all alone. I don't think so. Now get those faces up and moving, cause after a little work here we're gone and heading straight to the hideouts. We don't stop, Gaara is safe, Naruto is safe, and Akatsuki is gone for good. Shino looked at Lee, his leg still broken, and Hinata, her mind unable to comprehend itself and come from a coma, much like what happened with Sasuke and Kakashi a few years ago. How do you suppose we do anything? If Itachi is already stronger than all of us combined, and the leader is practically much stronger than that, then how come we'll be going to a dead zone? Lerxine growled. Stupid boy. We'll heal Lee, have Hinata regain herself, and gather up Mrs. Pot and Kettle up in the mountain parts. Afterward we'll go and get Gaara, get Naruto, and let Lee stay while we go back for the exams. Temari growled back. Who's this Pot and Kettle in the mountains? Besides, Lee's leg is busted, and that means our greatest taijutsu specialist is down. Hinata with her Byakugan is in a coma. Shino's bugs need to get back up again after that fire jutsu, and my fan is not powerful enough to pop an arm of Akatsuki. How in the world do you think we'll accomplish anything? Any means necessary, of course. Everyone viewed the door to see Naruto, standing there alive and well. Naruto. Naruto smiled. Miss me. Shino stepped up. You're not Naruto. Temari boggled confusedly at what the heck was happening. Huh. Naruto smiled still. You're half right. I am actually a Kyosha, the third level of clone. Shino nodded. You are the same energy felt by the real Naruto, but then again. Off. Somehow. Lerxine smiled. Kyosha, our correct copy, is Itachi's favorite technique. Everyone presumes Kage Bunshin, but then again they're only part right. Naruto nodded. Sadly we have to hurry. Kyosha's limit is dependent on the time used since it was active and how many hours since the main body becomes inactive. 24 hours. So I have 32 and I already used 12. You now have 20, and we need a minimum of 18 to search up the hideout. Naruto smiled more, almost grinning. Not when I can use jutsu to help. And we have some help. An old lady came from the other room. The name's Chiyo, the puppet mistress of Suna, and to undo the mistake I've done by setting loose my apprentice's son. I will help. Konkuro nodded. Sasori will pay for his betrayal, and for his most recent crime. Temari growled. To kidnap our brother is inexcusable. He's gonna die by any means necessary. Lurksine grinned wide. That's the spirit, and my type of action, shall we? Naruto walked to Lee. Itachi gone easy. That leg is heal able, effective immediately. He took the leg and snapped it right then up before shoving it next to Lee's face, then allowing it to freely arch up then back down to the bed. Lee looked at it in shock. He didn't even see it, let alone feel it at all. Feel it or not, he heard it. The pops were loud. Naruto nodded. Give it an hour. It'll be walkable. He gone to Hinata and sighed. Itachi is gonna die for this. He did something I find inexcusable myself. Naruto raised a hand, and let his Raiden element take hold before roughly placing it on Hinata's stomach, and the shocks ran through, but instead of normal responses of screams and convulsing, she groaned out unconsciously and tried to pull away. After it was over, Naruto looked at everyone. In an hour. We move. Hinata stays here to heal. Right now she's numb, so a mentality jutsu, preferably from a Konoha Medi Nin, or Tsunade, she'll be fine, and now a touch will mean nothing compared to her usual responsive touch sensitivity. Everyone, mount their gear and meet me at the gate. Naruto left and sighed as he viewed the desert. Stay alive, you damn Tanuki, we'll get you back one way or another. He smiled as the team was behind him at the gate. Temari smiled. We're moving out. Lurksine grinned. Time to bust up some Akatsuki bastards. Lee took his weights off. Time to finish our mission. Chio stood still, looking around. Sasori, I'm coming to finish what I started. Roll out. Naruto and team ran through the desert at his command, and chased for the hideout. Now that is why I hate Cage. He gives me advice and still he's dead wrong. Lurksine laughed. He interfered. You know the rules. He interferes. He better stay here or things go wrong half the time. The team looked up to find a huge boulder blocking a cave entrance, with a heavy seal on top of it. Naruto sighed. I used up 15 of my hours, and 2 of which were used with a shadow clone battle Itachi gave us. I have 3 more. Sadly, an entire hour is needed to prepare for the door busting, at least in jutsu usage. He looked back. Lee, first gate, right as I give the order. Chio, better be stepping up on your puppets. Sasori ain't going down without a fight. He created 3 Kyoshas and sent them out, knowing the most possible places were in a diamond formation from the center point. It took only seconds as the Kyoshas created cage buncheons to help, and once all 4 were touched by the Kyoshas, the first yelled out with his energy flying. Now. His energy and chakra spike signaled the other 3, and all 4 ripped a seal each at the exact same time, and as the center boulder was free of Naruto, Lee went into lotus mode, first gate, and kicked the boulder down. Naruto and gang walked into the rubble, and saw a man with lengthy yellow locks, and a humpback masked man standing by. Under the yellow-haired man lay Gaara, most likely dead. Temari got ready to draw her fan, but Naruto shot an arm forth to stop her. Your fight is with Deidara. Chio, Lurksine, you take Sasori. Sasori grinned. Is it me, or did he just use a clone to trick us? Huh. Sasori looked to Naruto behind him. Tell me, should I just disperse the clone? Or are you planning on using it to keep me busy? Naruto grinned. I wouldn't attack him if I were you, it's the real deal. Deidara chuckled. Tell us then why you're standing in front of us then. Cage buncheon, I would imagine, your greatest technique. Naruto smiled only a little. You're wrong, though I don't use this technique much, it's actually Kyosha. Sasori laughed under his breath. Itachi's technique. Naruto shook his head. 3rd level of clone, only no one uses it, because Cage buncheon has so many uses over this one, it's used more, but Kyosha is able to contain a person when unconscious, and I'm running out of time. Let's go Deidara, you and me have some business to attend to. Sasori though. Chio has a few words to say. Sasori hummed in interest. Deidara stood up and made a large clay bird appear, and hopped on in time to fly off. Sasori, I trust you to finish off the hag, Sasori nodded. Temari and Lee sped off to chase. Naruto smiled. Lurksine, be careful, and with that a yellow flash and he was away. Lurksine pounded her fist into her other hand, smirking. I get ya all to myself, one-on-one, no one upsets Naruto without dealing with me. She shot her arms to her sides, and lightning kunai shot from her knuckles. Sasori chuckled. Think those small lightning bolts can touch me? You're mistaken, it's going to be my poison taking you down from the inside. Lurksine growled. No one messes with Naruto. Lurksine launched herself forth, and as the tail of Sasori rose to strike, she jumped and shot one fist full of lightning bolts, each missing by an inch each, but she grinned all the same. She shot 2 more, one going way off, the other striking where Sasori was, as he jumped out of the way, only for the out-of-the-way bolt hit him in the back. The one bolt that hit in the circle made where Sasori was, light grew and disappeared, but for a second as a lightning strike occurred, and Sasori was barbecued by the bolts of lightning coming from within the ground. Lurksine landed. Taki Anbu Taicho. Lurksine, savage nymph of the storm. I'm no ordinary kunoichi. Sasori dropped in ash to the ground, only for a laugh to fill the cave. Lurksine looked up after closing her eyes. Ready to fight for real. A red-headed boy looked down with a smile. You're correct in assuming you're no ordinary kunoichi. We did a report on Taki once, but never on you. But question is, how to deal with you without getting hit. Chio stepped up. Sasori. Give up, or perish like all of Suna's enemies. Sasori grinned. Enemy you say? That's not what Sandame said. And after pulling out a scroll, he called forth a puppet unlike anything anyone's ever seen. Chio though recognized it. You turned the third cage into a puppet. The rumors were true. Sasori chuckled. Now, feel the wrath of the third cage. Kyosha, Naruto, one of them versed itself at a site where a seal was, and blocked a katana attack with his own, grunting. You're persistent. If I didn't know any better I thought you'd be growing stronger. The copy of the copy looked passive as he raised and dropped his katana, trying to slash his way through, only to find nothing. The real copy smiled. A trap, but a flawed one. This one takes the unsealer's power level and reforms it into a living being. Thing is, it doesn't copy everything. Seals are copied, but mine aren't, and my power of the Kajushinkai, uncopyable. Now, feel the sting of the third eye. On Naruto's copy, an eye symbol appeared, and glowed. The others glowed as well. The first copy of Naruto smiled as he chased Deidara along with Lee and Tamari. Get ready guys, I need only one shot at this. The third eye disappeared, and 3 explosions took place, each happening somewhere nearby. Naruto smiled more. Tamari, use your Fuden jutsu to get that bird unable to fly. Tamari nodded and jumped into the air, then uppercutted her fan wide, the wind flowing like a Rasengan downwards and forcing the bird of clay down into the branches they were all chasing it on. Deidara forced his chakra back up to raise the bird, but found Naruto in front of him, and in striking pose he managed to hit, but only with a small Rasengan, but powerful enough to condense and explode Deidara's arm clean off, and not his chest as he wanted since Deidara moved to the side. Naruto fell down as the bird flowed up again. He looked to Tamari and Lee. It's all yours guys. Take him down. And he vanished in a poof of smoke. Lerxine rammed a fistful of Raiden Kunai into the puppet's jaw, and seen it shred some of the wood out, only for an arm to dish out a punch and send her flying to the ground. She got up grinning. That's more like it, an enemy unable to tire, and someone of equal power. This will be fun. Sasori made the third suddenly let loose a cage of arms, and Lerxine was pressed to dodge everyone, but found it hard to do and got her cloak cut, the leg being torn a little, but her skin still intact. She dodged right, back flipped into a small summer Sue, then middle of the flip, came back as another arm caught her bottom cape, and pulled her down, but she managed to twist free and dodge more arms, before the final barrage came at her. She raged her lightning around her in hopes it would help lessen the blow she would have, and it did, as only one arm caught her, and only a mere scratch in the arm. She destroyed the arms in a fit of lightning rage, and got up holding her cut. Chio frowned. Lerxine-san, are you injured? Lerxine smiled. Yeah, but no harm done. Poison doesn't work on me, and I guess Akatsuki's investigation ending without my file updated, meaning they didn't figure out, I am healthy and more so, no poison has been able to invade my system without dying. Chio was confused and so was Sasori. Impossible, my poison is new, and potent, incurable, no antivenom, no antidote, or vaccines to prevent effects. You're bluffing. Lerxine grinned wide, laughing through her teeth before lightning took hold at her wound which she held. Naruto knows I don't bluff, I can only lead on. Taki, Anbu Taicho, Lerxine the savage nymph, is unpoisonable, and the strongest Anbu in the world. I am unknown, not even in bingo books yet since they can't even find me, I'm a ghost. I have no record, all there is on me, is me, and I only tell those whom I trust. A huge lightning bolt shot from her wound and she grinned more. Poison dies within my body. She pulled her hand away, a long string of purplish black and some red made its way out of her, and she cut it off, and her wound gushed blood for only a moment before stopping. Here's your poison. Sasori and Chio looked in horror and in interest at how this woman could endure such pain. Lerxine grabbed hold of the substance like a handle and suddenly lightning shot out of it and then bent and rolled at her feet, as if it were a common whip. I only use this on strong enemies, so be honored to be the third to ever see it, but don't expect to have the honor of being the first to see it in live. She shot the whip around her in a circle then got more kunai, but as she did the puppet attacked once more, only to be destroyed with Lerxine in front of Sasori. I had fun boy, but time for you to be finished. And with that she wrapped him up and down all around in the whip then pulled, only to have a straight whip again and no Sasori, only a ripped cloak. She looked behind her to see Sasori without a shirt, in fact without a human body. Chio groaned in her breaths. Self-puppetation, the cornerstone of all puppeteering, and the forbidden act that left us without a massive force of puppeteers. Sasori grinned, an evil and violent look in his features. That is why I chose this form, because it makes me invincible. Chio spat down and walked up. You're only invincible as long as your heart stays intact, otherwise you're doomed to fail. Lerxine came down and stood by the grandma. All right lady, lay it on me, is that black thing with the red symbol the heart chamber? Chio nodded. Then I have to aim perfectly. Chio looked up at the blonde girl. Can you do it? Lurksine frowned. Not on my own. I might need your help. If you can't hold him, and I miss, we're defenseless. There's a reason I released so much power to get so close and fight Sasori's real body, because I wanted to end it, but that technique is considered my second greatest attack. My first is going to have to beat him. At the cost of my life. Chio shot up. Is it that dangerous? Lurksine grinned. Not if I start, but I like a challenge. I thought this was gonna work, but with me so low on chakra I'll need about 1 minute to prepare enough to make it fully work, but I will still die from it. Tell Naruto. I'm sorry. Chio closed her eyes. Tell him yourself when you make it out of here. Now let an old woman show you what age really does to skill. Chio stepped up and used a puppet of her own design to attack Sasori, but he dodged, and she kept trying to trap him with a secret puppet she laid out as he was busy attacking Lurksine with the third, and when she got him there second puppet attacked, and clipped off one of Sasori's whirlwind blades from his back, but did not stun or hurt him. He managed to destroy the puppets easy though. Sasori smirked. Clever, Chio-sama, still a puppeteer master till the end. I guess I should take you seriously. He took his last scroll and opened it, only for 100 puppets to fill the sky, and Chio looked down. You forget my teachings, Sasori Baka. Quality is always better than quantity. She released her own, 10 puppets, all in white and different to the last. They all suddenly moved in order, and the fight began. Chio battled the hundreds of puppets, the fattest taking down 5 in one slamming ground strike, the smallest zipping past and slashing dozens in half in an instant, 3 puppets sucking the hundreds in and destroying them. Chio and Sasori fought puppet against puppet, and it would seem that Sasori was losing, but he grinned all the same. Why, Chio-sama, if I didn't know any better I thought I'd seen you sweat. Having trouble keeping up. That's what age does to the body. While I stay young and strong, you grow old and weak. Chio smiled. Nice to know you're not invincible, because soon you're going to die. All 10 suddenly changed tactics and went kamikaze, and started destroying more puppets than ever, but getting damaged and hurt without their defensive strategy in place. Soon there was only a dozen of Sasori's against a slightly broken one from Chio. The 10-finger technique is used to make 10 puppets move at once, and increases a puppeteer's abilities by 3 times their normal skill, and with the white band of puppets I made myself, their quality took you down. Now I use the 10-finger technique on one puppet, to master its skills to finish the battle. Sasori dispatched all his puppets, and managed to kill the last puppet, at the cost of all the others. Now they were puppet-less. Chio sighed. 10 puppets for each one of mine, but 2 were purely defense, and they are movable like real shinobi, not static and unpredictable like other puppets. It took longer, and my chakra is starting to lower, but I leave his to Lurksine-chan now. Sasori looked over and saw Lurksine walking up, but she stopped before raising her arms, her body forming a cross. Light from the heavens, bring forth the rage, savagely taking down the enemy of your cage, destroy with me as your spirit, the enemy of mine within a minute, using the power of pent-up anger, using me, your only stranger, now bring it forth, come to me, to strike down all foes and your greatest enemies. A bolt shot through and hit Lurksine, and with her covered in lightning from head to toe, no one saw her smirking, and only know this was the end. The lightning vanished mostly, but bolts shot past Lurksine's body from side to side as power rained over her body. She growled in anger. Sasori, be honored. The first to see this technique, and first to die from it. Chio was even shocked from this and felt the energy come past her, but Sasori was scared for his life and stepped back. He felt as if his death was near. She stepped once and a lightning strike hit near her, and the next hit again by her side. As she walked the sky shot bolts at her. No one messes with Naruto. Mentally, physically, or emotionally, and you are going to die, one way or another even if I sacrifice my life in order for Naruto to live on. Die fucker. She was behind him and shot a fist, sending Sasori into the ground, a small fire making its way to his side. A kick sent another fire through his chakra coils and forced him into the air only for Lurksine to be there standing like a god above him. Raiton. Yofun Boruto Yari. Lightning style. Rage bolt spear. And she flipped upside down and a bolt encompassed her and shot Sasori through the chest before standing under him, panting in angry exhaustion. Sasori fell like a rag doll and landed in front of her. She frowned before looking up to Chio. I've missed. She stood and took a step back before falling backwards and sighing her last breath away. She rushed in and found the pulse still flowing. Shino took a step inside and let his bugs fly. After they encompassed Lurksine, Chio looked back. Her lungs and heart stopped. The pulse is her last life source, but there's a problem, it won't last long. Chio took her hand and a green light forced its way into Lurksine's body. This wasn't meant for the living, but it will do, to save her. Shino nodded before looking at Sasori's body. That him. Chio looked back and found no heart chamber, her eyes growing wide in shock. Gaki. Behind you. Sasori took his blade and sliced it into Shino's body, only for him to vanish into a million bugs. Interesting how I felt I was gonna die, and I would have if it weren't for her miscalculation. Lightning can strike so unpredictably. Shino whacked Sasori into the ground with a powerful bug fist. Lightning can move directly in one motion, but it never misses. Sasori turned and sliced the fist in two, and tried for Shino's head only for another fist to turn into a shield, and block, then push him back. Shino took point and speared his bugs into Sasori's chest only to have a kick send him back. Shino stood and stepped back, arching backwards to try and dodge the slice heading at his heart, and succeeded but was kicked into the air, only to have Sasori slice again, but stopped from the bugs in his arms. Shino flew back and made a huge shield only to have most of his bugs sliced up and Sasori in front of him. Shino did not move, and it worked as Shino was unharmed, and Sasori smiled as his body stopped, the blade only 1 inch away from Shino's eye. Sasori smiled still. You're good. And you're right, lightning never misses, unless it was intentional. Lerxine hit all right. Shino looked down at the bleeding chamber. Your chamber is broken on the inside, you were a time bomb. Sasori chuckled. Yes. Listen carefully Konoha Shinobi. A week from now, I was supposed to meet with a spy I had planted in Odo, and Itachi had told how Konoha had a grudge with Odo. Take down Orochimaru for us, and yourself. It's at Iwa's famous Heavenly Bridge. Good luck. Kono. Ha. She. No. Bye. And with that Sasori fell dead, his heart chamber falling apart. Chio sighed. Lerxine is fine. Now we just need to save Gaara. Shino nodded and took his remaining bugs, making a bed for Gaara, Naruto and Lerxine to lay in as they left. Chio grunted. Hurry Tamari-san, we need the resurrection to happen with the family nearby. Lee and Tamari followed the bird for a mile out after Naruto disappeared, and thought of a plan to use. They could only think of one thing, and decided to do it. Lee went into the fourth gate of Lotus and launched forth, catching the bird's tail enough for Deidara to lose balance, and that's when Tamari used a gust of wind to form a tornado to suck and blow Deidara off his clay creation. Lee jumped up and kicked Deidara's stomach in, making him fly down to a fan that ripped his spine in two, but that was not over as Lee came again and started punching faces and kicking ass, a punch to the stubs of arms, a knee to the chin. He was too fast and Deidara was losing consciousness, he was going to pass out, but he did one final move and sucked in enough air before blowing himself to bits. Lee was blown back and Tamari stopped as they saw it. Deidara had blown himself up to stop Lee from attacking. Dangerous. They looked up to see Deidara again. It would have been very bad to be caught up in that. Lee did it again, but was kicked this time, and flew back to Tamari, but for a second as he launched again, dodging the foot this time and kicking Deidara's head, who flew off on his bird, and thought he was safe. Lee though didn't think so and roared, his power growing more as he entered the fifth gate. He kicked the bird, and it was powerful enough to crack, and even break the bird in half, and blowing it up in both Deidara's and Lee's face. This time Tamari and Lee know he was still alive, but he was nowhere to be found. Lee came from his lotus and fell to his knees in a heap of hurt and exhaustion. Tamari got him up, using her shoulders to support his back and shoulders with the arm around her and carried him by the belt up the trench and into the forest. Only a moment though had clouds started to appear and they looked up at the sudden storm. Lightning came down as soon and sudden as the clouds themselves came to be. Tamari sighed. Looks like we're in for a storm. Chio, don't try anything foolish. A Kyosha of Naruto grunted as he stood up looking face to face with a white-cloaked figure. Gakis these days. Nine Tails, you disappoint me. I heard about how you beat up on our number 5, but man did he over-exaggerate. I was thirsty for some of that blood of yours to stain my perfect diamond, but you're too quick. I was thirsty for a good fight, but you're not even laying a finger on me. Naruto growled. And who might you be, asshole? The man laughed hard before appearing behind Naruto, sword swinging down hard. Naruto dodged it but the man didn't move. Disappointing. Give me a good fight, and only then will I allow my name to pass these lips. And with that the man vanished in a white light. Naruto sighed. After that he felt a bolt strike down near him, nowhere near the cave, and knew one thing from this clear day having a storm. Lerxine. He dispelled and the real Naruto suddenly woke up in the bugs. What? Shino, you're here. Shino turned as did Chio and they both smiled. Glad to have you back in the living Gaki. Your bug friend here was worried you'd never come from that coma. He looked around and found Lerxine and Gaara next to him. He felt her pulse and sighed in contentment. I felt for sure she was going to die. Chio nodded. She almost did Gaki. That move she performed was pretty powerful, managed to hit Sasori before the chamber managed to escape, but she used too much chakra, it almost killed her. Thank her for the move's precautions to that move's after effects. Naruto was confused. What do you mean, Chio? What happened? Chio sighed and they started moving again. Her heart and lungs stopped working, she was running on a low battery. It was the massive dose of lightning power within her that kept her spirit alive and in her body long enough for me to save her life. Never knew how powerful that stuff is, only thought it was a stupid element. Naruto sighed. Gaara okay. Shino shook his head. Dead, for now anyways. Chio will revive him. Naruto understood what that meant and looked down. After a second he smiled looking at her. Chio, Thank you for saving Lurksine-chan. If there's anything I can do to repay you before you're gone from us, please ask me to do it for you. Chiyo smiled and looked back. What you can do for me, is tell the old man how sorry I am to have broken my promise. Naruto smiled and nodded. Consider your apology sent, Chiyo-sama. She nodded and they walked off into a clearing of the forest nearest to Suna, and found Temari and Lee waiting. Naruto got up and looked at Lee, smiling before patting his back. Come on Lee, you're stronger than this. Lee suddenly jumped and fell to the ground, but before Temari could get to him, as Naruto had a hand halting her body, Lee stood up on his own and he looked at himself. What is this? I went into the gates, how could I be okay after that so suddenly? Naruto grinned. Remember when I first came back? I gave you a pat on the back. He nodded. I placed a seal there to help heal your body after using the gates. I kind of figured you might have needed it sometime soon, and I was right. Always follow your gut, huh buddy? He nodded and they clapped hands, holding an arm wrestling a little bit before they got down to business. Shino laid Lurksine down, then Gaara near Chiyo, who started her jutsu. Not too soon had it begun, had Chiyo started coughing up a little blood, panting from too much use of such a jutsu. Naruto laid his hand on hers and smiled. It won't do for both of you to be dead. And you want him alive as much as the rest of us, for your own reasons. You can always back out of this though, you do realize. Chiyo smiled and nodded. I know I can, and I probably should. This is a foolish thing to do, but if it means happiness for Suna, and to the people I care about still, then I shall give my life to ensure Gaara's rule on a peaceful Suna is not in vain from his death. Naruto nodded and started pumping his chakra inside her body, and allowed her to complete her jutsu. When the jutsu was done, Chiyo laid herself down and thanked them all for their care before closing her eyes and breathing her last breath, content and happy with herself before dying. Gaara woke up a few minutes later wondering why everyone was crying. Naruto, you're here. What happened to me? Is Akatsuki gone from here? Naruto nodded. Yeah, I came to save ya buddy. I'm not the only one either. Temari hugged her brother from behind. Gaara, you're finally back with us. Thank Kami you're alright. Gaara smiled and looked around to see everyone. Naruto, Lee, Shino, a girl he didn't know, and then someone he knew and cared for. Chiyo-sama. Naruto looked and closed his eyes. Yeah, she gave her life to revive yours from losing that beast you had. Gaara looked at her before trying to stand, failing, but Naruto caught him and helped him over to her. Gaara bowed his head, as did everyone else who could. He opened his eyes and lifted his head a tad bit and smiled. Chiyo-sama was a magnificent puppet master, and a loyal Suna citizen. Thanks to her, Suna will stay safe as long as I, and my friends and family, can stand. With this, we say thank you, Chiyo-sama, and rest in whatever place you are now, happily, and watch over us as we do what we can in your honor. Everyone smiled before they decided to walk, Shino using his bugs to carry Lurksine and Chiyo back to Suna. It was a long walk, and when they finally returned to Kankuro, awoken Hinata, Chiyo's partner, and Baki, they all smiled. They had returned safe and sound. After the burial of Chiyo, and Naruto using her apology, everyone gathered at the gate. Gaara, Kankuro and Temari stood on one side, everyone else on the other, the desert to their backs. Well Gaara old pal, this is where I hit the road. Gaara nodded and put a hand out. Naruto smiled and placed his over Gaara's and they stood there hand in hand, staring at the other happily. They let go and Naruto looked to Lee. Hey Lee, thought you were staying. Lee looked blank for a moment then shocked. Oh, sorry Naruto-san, I forgot, I was too busy in the heat of battle to think of what I was doing here. He walked over to Gaara's side and saluted Naruto. Thank you Naruto. Report to the Hokage I will be staying here from now, and a messenger bird will return my Konoha headband when the transaction of my new Suna status is confirmed. Naruto nodded. Have fun then. See ya around. With a few more goodbyes, and a sudden kiss from Yugito that left Temari stunned, unconscious and in the sand, the two groups parted. Lee was invited to stay with Gaara, and Temari went off to talk with the council. Kankuro walked with Lee and Gaara back to the compound, and let them rest. Gaara was first to take a bath, since the sand was uncovered in the sun of the desert, he did kind of stink now, unlike ever before. It took a moment but suddenly Gaara screamed and Lee and Kankuro opened the door to see a naked Gaara, with two impressive B-cups to have suddenly appeared, and nothing between his. Or rather now, her legs. Lee and Kankuro promptly fainted. Baki soon after once he came after hearing the scream himself. Kage who was in Konoha smirked. He looked at him and was wondering what made him smile like that. What's going on Kage? Kage laughed a bit before looking towards he. Suna is going to be very crazy now, especially since Gaara's a woman. He deadpanned but ignored and tried not to imagine anything. Kage just laughed more before returning to his thoughts. Lee, you're in for a very wild ride. Be careful or else you might not live past a week there. AHHRG. Naruto collapsed in the forest nearby Konoha, and as he went to his knees, Hinata on his back, his hand gripped at his chest. Everyone came to his aid, Lurksine noticing his hand first. Naruto, don't tell me. You activated the eye, didn't you? Shino sent a few bugs to check the vitals and saw something unusual. A powerful surge of chakra was slowly rising from him. Yugito recognized the power of such chakra and frowned. The nine tails is gone, how can this powerful chakra still be within him? Naruto grunted, his body convulsing before he spat out blood. Lurksine took her hand and placed it over Naruto's, and allowed her electric touch to stop the flux from the third eye. Lurksine sighed as he stopped tensing up. She looked to Yugito and Shino. He'll be fine until we get to Konoha. Till then, we better keep a watch on him. No clue how long it'll be until my healing jutsu will keep hold inside of him. Naruto shook his head though, getting up. After a few steps he went back to his knees, and Lurksine found his eyes vacant and unheeding to what was going on. She frowned more before getting Hinata from his shoulders and carrying her, herself. Yugito, Shino, take Naruto to the village, Hinata's priority to get to the hospital for Tsunade. When you get to Konoha though, Jiraiya is your main concern, he'll be at the Namikaze estate most likely, waiting for Naruto to return. Yugito looked a little confused before asking her own question. Why are you taking Hinata and not Naruto? You love him, don't you? Lurksine smiled. I do, but he'd never forgive me if Hinata didn't get treatment right away. And I'm the fastest of the group, except Naruto, but he's at a critical stage. Yugito nodded, accepting the answer before having Shino help her in getting Naruto on his feet. Lurksine took off at top speed, leaving the three in the dust as she hoped to get Hinata to Tsunade in a minute flat. Naruto, you didn't have to use that. There must have been another way, right? She didn't dwell on it though. As she hit the gates of Konoha, she didn't care as to stop from the guards, but she did when Anbu showed up in front of her. She growled, out of the way, and Anbu in red gasped as he seen the figure coming up. Move, it's Lurksine. Anbu didn't have much of a choice as Lurksine rushed through their blockade and kept going without a second to spare with them. Mantis looked carefully. That was Hinata. What happened? Lurksine had ran through town in seconds and made it into the Hokage Tower, now stopping for a breath as she used all her strength to speed her way upstairs and past GU8 guards before entering the Hokage's office. She had stopped to see Kushina talking with Tsunade, and both had gotten ready to fight after all the ruckus. They looked at Lurksine's face before seeing an unconscious Hinata on her back. The two women rushed over, Kushina to stop the guards from attacking and explain to them easily that this was a friend bringing a priority to their medical attention, Tsunade taking Hinata and setting her down with Lurksine sitting down to recover herself. Kushina was first to speak. Lurksine, what happened? And where's Naruto? Tsunade checked the girl and found a high amount of radiant energy flowing inside her and among her skin. Lurksine shook her head. Hinata's been in a coma for a day. Naruto ran into Itachi on the way to Suna. Naruto's probably entering the village as we speak though, in very bad shape himself, Shino and Yugito with him and carrying him to the Namikaze estates. Tsunade looked at her before sighing, leaving her medical work. Probably for Jiraiya, but still, if it's serious enough he can't even walk on his own, then he should see me. Lurksine shook her head again. He's fine for now, I made sure to keep his heart going with my own energy until he reaches Jiraiya-sama. And it is only he who can help Naruto. Tsunade sighed again before running a medical jutsu to Hinata's head. She's been jolted up, but other than that, the reversal on her mental state will take at least an hour. Lurksine smiled. She'll be fine though. The reason she has electricity flowing inside her is because of Naruto. He had to numb her body, or she'd be having non-stop orgasms. Tsunade frowned and Kushina grew a little upset. Lurksine stopped them though. No, Itachi had to, using anything like his normal torture on a Byakugan user, and with her training with Naruto, she's know how to get out, he had to use Naruto and a sexual torture to keep her distracted enough to put her into a coma. They didn't have to like it though. Tsunade thought a moment before frowning again, looking at Kushina. Isn't Jiraiya off to investigate a white-cloaked man near the Hokage mountain? Kushina perked up before getting really panicked. Oh no, you're right, and Naruto's critical from what Lurksine said, I'll go get Jiraiya to the estate ASAP. She rushed off, hoping to find and reroute Jiraiya to the estates in time. Jiraiya was at the Hogake's back, behind the great mountain where he followed a man in white. He had finally caught up and the man looked untired, as Jiraiya had a little bit of a hard time keeping up with this speed demon. Jiraiya stood in front, about 50 feet away he could tell from their height. Your speed, it's as if you were trained to run and not fight. The man stayed passive, as if a statue. Jiraiya though growled. Damn it, answer me. What is Shirohakume doing in Konoha? Jiraiya was prepared to land a quick blow, however before he could even start a jutsu the man raised a hand into the air. We're here, for Naruto. Jiraiya smirked before the man suddenly appeared in front of him, not even moving a leg. Jiraiya managed to dodge the first blow but was kicked into the air by a swift kick, and then grabbed by his belt to be slammed back of his head first into the mountain. Jiraiya got up in time to see the man glide away, as if he was wearing skates. Chakra wheels, very impressive ability to speed yourself up. What does he want with Naruto when he's not even here? Bad question as Kushina managed to slide down the mountain behind him. He looked up at her panicked face and wondered why she was in such a hurry. Jiraiya, Naruto's back, and from what Lerxine told us, in critical condition. Jiraiya was suddenly gone, running back to the estates, where he was sure Naruto was heading, and sure that was where Shirohakume would be heading to cut off Naruto. He growled as he put his sage chakra into it, and jumped high into the air and long from his starting point without having to worry about time. At the Namikaze estates, Shino and Yugito stopped with Naruto between them, limp and panting heavily in a heavy hot sweat. Shino was first to speak. Who might you be? You're not Jiraiya. The man raised a hand and stepped forth, not speaking. Yugito and Shino took a step back before a flash of yellow appeared in front of them. Shiono and Yugito both gasped at this, knowing who it was. Yugito didn't think he'd be here this time of day though. Minato frowned. Shirohakume is acting very recklessly, sending over their quickest member after Naruto, who only just returned. The man laughed before floating up into the air a little bit. Minato, didn't expect you to be around. Heard you went into a death state back when Kyuubi attacked years ago. Minato stared the man down, not flinching not even when the man was upon him. Before Minato could act though, Jiraiya slammed a Rasengan into his back, before blocking a punch from behind. The man had created a clone, and used it to kill anyone who hit him. Jiraiya looked behind him, struggling against the fist trying to break his arm. Minato, think you could handle it from here? Minato thought a moment before taking Jiraiya and rushing away before two more clones appeared and tried to smash them into bits. The trio of the man became a solo act once again. Minato frowned. Not alone, but your attention is not with me. Go, take Naruto and the others away from here. I'll buy some time till Kushina can catch up. Jiraiya got up nodding with a pat onto his student's shoulder before catching Naruto from Shino and Yugito. Let's run you two. Shino stayed to see the face of the Yondaime, but Yugito grabbed his arm, silently giving him a signal to disappear. He nodded before following her and Jiraiya. Minato grabbed 10 kunai, one on each finger. The white-cloaked man took a step forth. You really should think about this, you're not skilled enough alone to take me on. Minato jumped forth, laying 2 kunai of his specialty and trying 3 at the man's head, who dodged back the first one, before turning and going down, his back to Minato, then jumped to the side to dodge the third. Minato, during the 3 throws had laid 2 more kunai, and 3 one way off. He then laid 1 at his feet where the man once stood and smiled. You're in my trap. The man moved out of the circle and symbol that made up Minato's trap only for Minato to appear in front of him and cut his hood at his cheek. The man stood off the end and looked around, and felt as if there was something he didn't think about with this technique. Minato looked battle ready, not at all ready to explain. The man laughed. Unless you put seals here under the ground, there is no way you could have done this, and it would take time to do this effectively. Tell me, how did you manage this? Before Minato could act or answer, Kushina roared from the air and sliced the man's cloak from shoulder to hand, only to have the man escape unharmed. She smirked, her eyes glowing red as her eyes. Time to die, the Red Death, is here to protect her son. The man laughed more, his arm showing from the rip in his cloak. If you hadn't have roared, you would have had my arm at your feet. Kushina and Minato both had their weapons ready to strike. The man shook his head. You're not going to have me stay here, when I need to catch Naruto. 2 clones appeared to catch Kushina and Minato, but their quick strikes made short work of them, and when they looked again, the man was gone. Minato growled with Kushina, both starting to run after the man, hoping to catch Jiraiya quickly. Damn it. Kushina ran beside her man. Minato-kun, how does our boy look? Minato growled. Bad, he wasn't even able to produce a chakra spike with me around, and you know his chakra is connected to us and Kyuubi-san. Kushina didn't hesitate and went into her full bloodline limit, her body becoming red, her hair flaring all over before she became a red blur past Minato. Jiraiya stopped, seeing the man in front of him. Damn it, Minato, hurry. He saw the sleeve missing and thought Kushina did that, and hoped she had her full limit activated when she tried that, or she would be very much in danger. The man raised a hand. Give me the Kyuubi, or I will have to use dangerous measures. Jiraiya set Naruto down and stepped up. Yugito, take Naruto away from here. Now. Yugito took Naruto from behind Jiraiya and picked him up into her arms before trying the roof to find Lerxine, hoping she could help Naruto's condition until the white-cloaked man was gone. The white-cloaked man sighed. Sorry to say, but letting Naruto go like that was a very bad idea. Jiraiya didn't care, and planned ahead. He had already sent Yugito away, and the entire show was for the man to be misled. The man moved only to have his hood lost from Kushina's full power unleashed upon him. He slid back in escape before rolling forth again and sending a large combo of kicks ahead. Kushina cut his arm a little, a small slash appearing on his elbow, but he continued trying to hit Kushina, who dodged and blocked all that came her way. She turned. Go. Get Naruto NOWWWW. Jiraiya didn't hesitate from that command and went off. The man growled, his green eyes staring passively at Kushina, a short amount of golden locks. Kushina cut and jumped, trying to kill the man, actually laying a blade along his shoulder, and cut into his chest an inch deep. She let loose another roar of rage and aimed for his heart, but found him gone. She stayed there in attack mode before her energy filled the area. Fuck you. You're dead. The man sped across the rooftops, hovering in the air as he tried hard to catch up to Naruto. He had caught up indeed to Yugito resting with Naruto beside her. The man smiled. Well, Jiraiya misled me. Now pretty little girl, hand him over, or you're going to be very much dead. Yugito put her hands together. No. And a very powerful explosion took place where the man was and he had to go back before he held his slightly burnt arm, going to the edge again and saw Yugito in shock. No way. That was my best trap. The man growled before dropping down. Yugito tackled Naruto and took him into the clearing, holding him in front of her, as her back was to the man. You're not getting Naruto. Lerxine would kill me if you take him. The man looked angry but before he could walk a powerful energy took the air by storm. Yugito stopped holding Naruto to lay on the ground, struggling against the powerful chakra in the air, almost suffocating her. Naruto stood up, shaking as he did. The man growled again. What is this? You were supposed to be weakened. Naruto took a step forth, and whispered in a low voice. Get out, get out, get out. He stepped forth again and again, closing in on the man. He looked up at the man with a vacant, but angry look. Get out, get out, get, oh ow it. He rushed up and knocked the wind from the man in white, then vanished. Only a second took place for Naruto to cut the man's spleen, then rip his bone apart from his perfectly fine arm, breaking it in a million pieces. He took the man's leg and threw him up before cutting the man's foot off, then punching his face in and forcing him out of the village. Naruto stood in a rage before seeing Yugito laying on the ground and roared, his tails flowing behind him and glowing. Get out, get out, get out. Yugito gasped as he flashed, only for Lerxine to take the sword into her heart. She smiled, holding Naruto. Don't let him take over. Naruto-kun, please. She used the last for her Raiden chakra stored up and gave him a super shock until he was unconscious. Naruto let go of his sword and fell to the ground. Lerxine took the sword from her chest and smiled, letting it fall. Naruto-kun, I will see you when you wake. She had fallen too, almost dead. Yugito got up with Jiraiya, Minato and Kushina getting them all up, and all of the team, Shino included who had fallen from the chakra spike, all went to Tsunade at the hospital. Inside Naruto he growled, having 7 tails flowing behind him, and a copy of him, fully red with 7 behind him as well. Naruto took flight and tackled the copy of him but had himself kicked up and having to take his sword, blocking the copies from hitting him. They stayed suspended in mid-air for a moment. Get out of my body. Now. The copy laughed. No way, this is my body too, you know. Naruto crossed his sword against the copies and threw him back down. There's no way in hell this is your body. The copy laughed. Kyuubi didn't tell you. When you become a tailed beast, when you started as a human, the animal side has to come out somewhere, and the only way for it to be stopped is by a special way. If the new Hanyu of a tailed beast easily gains the powers, the animal side will never show up until the power suddenly awakens inside the new Hanyu, and when that power is unleashed, so is the animal side, and that is what happened here. Naruto frowned. But I needed to release it, and I had hoped I was close enough to stop such a disaster. The copy, or animal within, grinned. You were, if you had but just waited until after your first match of the final exam, then I would have never been manifested. Naruto grew angrier. The animal used the Hirishin to catch Naruto but found a sword to his throat. You're not me, so you do not know this, and whether you're inside me or not, you're still not going to stay here. The animal laughed. I'll leave you alone, but be warned. I will never leave your body entirely, because I am you Naruto, I am your animal side. Naruto growled as he tried to slice the copy's throat, in order to fail at it when the animal side vanished. He stood there in the darkness, an 8 tail showing forth behind him. There's no way you're taking control of my body. It's mine, and even if you are a side of me, you're not going to hurt anyone I care about. The animal laughed, echoing in the darkness. I already did, we were in deep battle here, but your body started to move on its own with the massive amounts of power being used within your own subconscious, and attacked, I don't know who but it attacked before being electrocuted. Did you not feel that lightning bolt rush through you? I wonder if you killed off that lovely Lerxine. See for yourself. Go ahead, I won't make a fuss till later on. Promise. Naruto growled before caring more about what happened on the outside. He did know that if the animal side was right, and he was him, then the promise he made was staying for good. He exited his body after calming down to 3 tails. He awoke to find a working Shizune, trying hard to get some supplies for something. He got up and grunted, feeling part of himself feel dull and numb, but hurtful at the same time to be using and not even feel it. Shizune turned to a waking Naruto and sighed in relief. Naruto, you're okay. He nodded. What happened? And is everyone okay? Shizune frowned. Naruto, Lexine is in critical condition, she's being treated right now in surgery. From what Shino told us, this would be the second time she came so close to death. Her body still has not recovered and Tsunade is seeing to her personally to keep her alive. Hinata is fine, just some rest. Other than that, there's nothing else to worry about. Naruto punched a small hole in the wall. Damn it. He let a tear fall before getting up. Take me to her. Let me see Lexine now. Shizune nodded and helped Naruto walk through the hospital. They entered a viewing room to see the surgery. 10 medic nins and Tsunade were chanting and using seals of all kinds to try and help Lexine stay alive. Naruto looked down before getting up on his own wobbly legs, holding onto his chest as his lungs started to constrict. He walked out of the room before being stopped by Kyuubi. The animal side started acting up. Didn't it? Naruto didn't answer, just walked off again. Kyuubi put a hand on him to stop. You can't walk away from this, not even I could. Naruto, the animal side will destroy you, and your friends, and your loved ones, and it won't stop until it takes control. You're buying into its trap. Naruto growled, his chakra flaring a little bit. Get off me. Kyuubi did the only thing she could and pulled hard, giving Naruto a knuckle punch to the jaw. Listen to me, damn it. Naruto retaliated to black out for a moment, and when he regained himself a second later he seen a very unconscious Kyuubi with a twisted shoulder, almost sickening at the sight of it. He took a step back before running off, scared out of his mind, hoping to outrun anyone who cared about him, wanting to be alone to sort things out. The animal didn't. Let him go so easy. Naruto, oh so close, you had a chance to find out what you needed to know, but instead got angry at me, and thought Kyuubi was me, ha. You're not getting rid of me this way, and I'll just keep pushing and pushing until you're all mine. Naruto ran and ran faster until he reached the gates of Konoha, then running past and into the vast forest. He cried as his running began to bog down. Soon, he cried more than he ran, when he sat down in a deep dark forest where he knew no one would get him. What? Kushina winced. Naruto ran away. No. What happened? Where did he go? Kushina frowned. I don't know. All I can say is he ran away after knocking Kyuubi out. Bakiju gritted her teeth. Well, what happened? Something had to have happened if he knocked Kyuubi out. Yugito nodded. Naruto has released his animal side, and is taking it kind of roughly. He's been a Jinchuriki for so long, the only animal side he had was Kyuubi, now he has to fight his own mind and body. Bakiju sighed, frowning. The only way to win against it is to become one with it. Minato looked at the two Jinchuriki. Naruto's animal side. This is a side effect of Kyuubi's power then, am I right? Yugito nodded. Nibi told me a lot about the tailed beasts. Ikibi was a maniac, and with Gaara being so unstable at a young age, the madness took him over. Nibi's animal, that I would have had to deal with, is sexual in nature. The Sanbi is a bit of a carnivore, and the Yonbi hates anyone who tries to get near, so if the Jinchuriki made friends and lost the animal inside, then his or her friends would be dead. Bakiju nodded. The higher-classed beasts, like the Hachibi and Kyuubi, are more animalistic in nature than that. Hachibi is a power source of pure rage when released, but the Kyuubi is pure power alone. With great power comes the bad and the good. The power of Kyuubi made some people run from fear, some so angry they had to fight, others enjoy its sight and lastly just cry with their last tears. Now we're in deep water. Naruto's animal has shown. Kyuubi found she could get rid of such energy by finding a release of some sort, but Naruto is different, so things might take a while. I just wish I could help him somehow. Minato sighed, as Yugito walked off to find Shizune. Bakiju stayed before smiling. I was going to be one of his lovers. Now I have to find a way to get Lexine and Hinata to wake up to help me give him what he needs. She walked off to Hinata's room to figure things out. The Hokage couple thought about everything that has transpired so far. Naruto stopped crying and decided it might be time to go back, seeing as he let out everything he could manage, and was now calm again. Now, crying doesn't make the nightmares go away. Naruto looked back to see a grinning man look up at him from the shadows. What's the matter? The fox bite you in the ass? The man came out and showed his face. A pale white skin amongst silver white hair came from the darkness. Tell me you're not thinking about quitting on me now. I've yet to get everything about you into record. Naruto growled. What do you want? The man grinned evilly, his features changing to pure and utter evil and terrifying. His teeth showing razor-sharp spikes of teeth, eyes glowing with a dark and eerie green, his skin crawling. You Naruto, I want you. His skin torn to shreds as millions of slimy green tentacles started to surround and cover Naruto from head to toe, capturing him before pulling him in and then disappearing inside the man's body before he himself vanished in thin air.